It was just
Recording in progress.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Declaration of potential conflict of interest. Kyle?
No.
Sue?
None.
Celeste? None. Mike?
No, ma'am.
None. Correspondence, we have a letter from the tax aid coordinator. Just thanking us for our, not service, our support.
Yeah, I just included this because there's a few staff that helped out with providing this great tax return service that a nonprofit does for senior citizens in our community, and so just wanted to include it, and especially thankful for our staff. Isaiah is here, Jennifer Soprano, Haley Reckman. I think there were some other staff that were involved, but
Adam was really helpful.
Adam was helpful. So helping folks, 75 folks complete their tax returns, that's a big deal and a great service for our community. So
Do they pay rent for the time that they're here?
they don't. They had always provided that service here at the Bob Chisholm for free. This year we migrated them over to the SRC. So just
But they're providing the service.
a little bit more. Yeah.
Well, and this little paragraph, we picked up a new volunteer, I think that's me.
Oh.
So if anyone would like to do taxes next year, I want company. It's actually pretty.
You need more to do. So.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I walked in and I said this, and I'm the one that got Adam when she was having problems, and she said, "You are very resourceful." I said, "Well, it doesn't hurt that I'm on the board," and I know I have Adam
No
on
people.
speed dial.
Okay, well, thank you. This was from Linda Bade. Anyway, thank you to her. Bade.
Can I ask you a question about this? Because I think it's so great. And 75 tax returns, that's a lot for seniors. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just thinking, like, how do people know that we did that?
That's a great question. I think they distribute the information in their network. We have traditionally, like I said, provided the service here at the Bob, so we get a lot of phone calls. In fact, it's my understanding, I think the availability windows, like the slots fill up really, really quickly. So more volunteers like Sue are needed, but I think the demand exceeds the capacity right now.
Yeah, I would love to even see, even now that it's done, like a recap on our social media that says we were really proud to partner with that group, or I don't know if you have blogging capabilities on our website, but something that just says just to share that this was done.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got our.
And give them credit.
And give them credit too for what they did. Like, I think it's just an really excellent service.
Good partnership.
Well, and this year, it was in danger because Linda comes from Tillamook, and there weren't, the two people quit on her from Seaside. And so she very kindly came up and back and forth from Tillamook to do taxes. And that's not expected.
Yeah.
You know, last year I went down to Tillamook and that's how I met her. So it has been difficult. You know, people know if they've had their taxes done, they know in January to start calling. And that's what I do. You just keep calling until you get a spot. And I don't know what's going to happen next year because right now there's only one person. And I don't really want to do it by myself. I mean, you're always, you do the taxes and then you have a backup, you know, to confirm your information is right. And I don't want to start off like that. So
Maybe helping advertise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I think the first step might just be
Yeah.
to
just call me
establish
in October.
a little relationship with Linda and maybe do a little social media or marketing recap and ask how we can support the program next year.
Yeah, and I think by promoting the great success and good work that it was for our community might garner some interest from people who want to help next year. Like, might as well start signing people up now who are interested and get them connected in.
Good points. My friend Carolyn Anderson, who is also a treasurer of our Kiwanis Club, talked to her today, and she says we definitely need some more volunteers. Make it
She's
go
the
better
only
next
one.
year.
She's the only one still,
Yeah,
and Linda comes too far, so she won't do that next year.
yeah. I'm trying to think of anyone who might be able to help.
Yeah. I want company.
Come hang out with Sue.
Yeah.
So I could just said, you'd do my taxes next year.
Yeah. I mean, I always do TurboTax as a backup. She and I came out identical, and that's what caused her to go, "You're hired." And I went, No, I just always do these, so I keep track of stuff through the year. She said, "You're hired again."
All right, moving on, we have a letter from Jay Lambert, who is president, regarding the out-of-district drop-in fee for pickleball. And if you have questions, Mr. Lambert, I'm sure would answer them.
I think that letter was really interesting. I think it deserves some discussion. If it's true that the participation has dropped off in the pickleball, what does staff think about that? Can we talk about that now?
Yep.
So yeah, participation has dropped off a little bit. I think the point that's made in the letter about it being caused by the fee increase is fair. We don't know for sure that that's the only cause, because there are other pickleball opportunities in the community, and this is a network that's really good at finding those opportunities, and they are willing to travel to Astoria or Camp Raylia or even across the river to the facility there. But it is true that we were averaging significantly more players than it seems like now, and there are some days where we only are using one court, which when we started this program, that would have never happened. We always had all three courts were being used, plus a full group waiting to play the next available game. So I think it's something that is worth consideration. We haven't done our due diligence in terms of looking at the price structure for some of those other places, but if Jay believes that they're cheaper, that could certainly be a
I have a
consideration.
question.
Mm-hmm.
We offered people to take on resident status
Mm-hmm.
to decrease the price. And so what's that price?
$160, it says.
Right.
That was for me. That was my own house.
So, but I know we're trying to expand, eventually expand, borders, but if that's the right word. But, why not pay the resident fee and take advantage of not just pickleball, but other opportunities?
Well, a lot of those people are drop-in visitors during the summer. They come in, and I've heard them say they go like a couple came in and they said $25 for two people to play. They said last time, and then they left. And this happens frequently. A lot of the people that I play with, I play at Raylia, at the Armory, across the river. I play at all the places around here. Everybody is $5 except for Seaside non-resident. It seems that 2.5 times the fee for non-resident is pretty high, in my estimation. That's my opinion, but nobody really wants to pay that much money. It's just cost prohibitive to play more than once in a great while.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
I'd be interested in knowing, having some more information about that, about what the other places are. I'd also be interested in knowing, how much revenue this is to me. Part of me wonders, if that is true, if we're sort of pricing ourselves out of the market, why not make it free to people in the district and charge the nominal fee to out-of-district people?
That'd be great.
Sure.
And so there'd still be an incentive to join the district, right? But it's not that much, we're only getting $5 per person that's coming. I don't know that it could be that much of our revenue. I could be wrong, but I think,
It's not. It's certainly not. I think the position is that we wanted consistency across the programs that we offered with the pricing structure that we implemented, and
make it $1 and $6 or something. You can still keep the philosophy in place that in-district people are already paying by virtue of paying their taxes, that it's included in there. Instead of restructuring the price, the philosophy.
Yes.
Skylar, or maybe Chris, have we noticed a reduction in revenues?
I mean, overall, yeah. But,
Just for the pickleball?
I mean, I couldn't really tell you on just pickleball.
I mean, are other
it's
things
such
dropping?
a small amount that.
A lot of our programs are pretty high demand still, swim lessons are high demand, youth programs are really high demand still. That hasn't necessarily been impacted by the fee structure. I mean, you all heard a presentation and proposal, from Carolyn's program, and we made some adjustments there, so I don't think, I think Celeste made the point that it's a small amount, so we're not gonna see significant impact to the overall operating budget of the district. But in a year's time, we may have enough data to say,
Yeah.
okay, we've really dropped significantly in pickleball revenue, probably because of this or that. So I think that's a fair point, but it's just probably a little bit too early to tell. What we can tell is participation data. That's easy to track, and I think Jay's accurately presenting a decline in participation.
I think it would be good for us to take a look at that, I don't know what the right increment is, if it's 6 months after, that we look at both participation and revenue. But one of the things I would like to know is, have we had an increased inquiry or uptake on people joining the district?
Yeah, I think anecdotally we have, but I can get you some more, I can present some data back to the board, yeah.
We implemented the change in January 1st, right?
It went in place in
So we're
January,
getting
yeah.
close to 6 months, yeah.
So I don't have a recommendation about the pricing, but I kind of firmly believe that we're here to promote recreation. And if we're doing something that actually suppresses recreation, I think that we should take a look at that. And if people aren't recreating because of policies that we've put in place, then we should revisit those. Encourage more, whether it's pickleball or swimming or whatever, we should encourage more participation.
We need to encourage people to play.
Yes, it's
we
what
have a
we're supposed
cause.
to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that philosophically, except then why not make it all free?
Well, I think, my philosophy has always been, I think our residents pay for the infrastructure and the users pay for the use of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So, if we had it structured in such a way so that we knew what our costs were, say for the pool or for the pickleball court or whatever, we could say, okay, it costs us $7 per person to operate this facility for pickleball. So the price is $7, but our residents are already contributing, for that. So we're only going to charge for the operating costs for both our residents and our non-residents would have to pay for infrastructure and operating costs.
I guess that's what I sort of feel like. I mean, we didn't do that full exercise, because I think, so do we divide the gym up, how for the infrastructure, or do we just take the, whatever it is in taxes, which is, I think, about $900,000 a year, right? Isn't that?
Yeah.
$1 million, let's just call it $1 million a year, divide that among all the residents, and that's what it costs per resident for infrastructure, is that how do you come up with
You could do it
this?
that way too. I would just contemplate, it'd be complicated math, but not impossible, but, to calculate what our infrastructure costs are and recognize that our users, through their taxes, are paying for that infrastructure, but not for the use of the infrastructure. So then everybody pays, $5 for the pool, but the infrastructure charge is $3 or whatever, however you work it out.
I mean, we didn't do it per program like that, but I mean, essentially, that's what the percentage split was to figure out how much of the infrastructure, how
Well, I
much
don't know
taxes
if
are
we
we
had
paying.
the discussion about infrastructure. I think we were looking at it relationally between but the resident user fees and non-resident user fees.
Correct.
So we just created a percentage difference.
But that was based on the tax dollars that go into our total budget, so to speak, a
Right.
percentage of budget. That's for a percentage of our total budget.
Right.
Tax revenue as a percentage of the total budget.
So we don't have
So that's-
any
yeah.
figures about pool versus pickleball since we started this program?
We have the capacity to pull all that data, but I did not know what, questions or needs the board might have prior to this meeting, so if you want, happy to prepare a report, share it with you before next meeting, or we can have something next meeting, that kind of outlines some of the impacts, revenue-wise, and, captures some of the other participation trends that we might be seeing, and, folks that are joining the district, maybe as a result of, the fee change being implemented.
So I think that would be a great discussion for us to have, just to kind of see where we're at with the changes that we made. As far as this particular concern, I don't think we're going to break the bank. And I think we're still holding true to kind of the philosophy that we implemented, if we do kind of what Celeste said, where we lower the fee for residents, which brings down the fee for non-district residents.
Sure. So
I
how do
mean,
you?
frankly, I love the idea of giving our residents either some free or close to free benefits for what they're paying in their taxes. Like, I don't think pickleball is a huge manpower lift, like, or equipment lift. So, I mean, to me, that seems like it would be a good solution.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I think that's feasible. We do have a couple of other, or at least one other, popular drop-in sport that I think would probably want to, maybe lump in with this change if we were gonna make it, that's drop-in basketball.
Yeah.
Again, similar fee structure, similar participation, but, that participation hasn't necessarily dropped, since, the fee change came into place. Partly because there's just not a lot of, like, open gym drop-in basketball for this type of activity. Whereas pickleball, there's lots of other places those folks can go to play.
Yeah, I'm happy to pay the fees I pay, because I'm in the pool 5 days a week, would be there longer, more if it was open on Sundays. But, I feel like the money I pay helps pay for, keeping the lights on, keeping the lifeguards trained, well.
You have to have staff available too.
Yeah, so
it seemed like if you had reasonable numbers or participation, you kind of ought to be easier to plan staffing. And,
Yeah.
we have to clean up too. It seems like a small fee, a reasonable fee, is an investment. And I think it's good for the participants to feel vested in the community, not only by their support with their property taxes, but by their actual, presence and helping us cover basic costs. But it's still an open question, maybe your idea of getting the data and making reports is more than reasonable, so maybe we have more information.
And I think that, pricing is one of the most complex things an organization can do.
Right.
It is really difficult, and there are many, many different ways to, you can use your cost of goods sold, you can use your competitor's pricing, you can use market, you can use all these other things, and, the goal of all of those ways is to increase the revenue, maximize the revenue. But we're not interested in maximizing the revenue, so what is the wisdom behind our pricing?
Yeah, so I think that's a great point, because I do think, like, I don't think our intention was necessarily to raise more revenue.
No, right.
Right, like, what we're trying to do is gain some equity, so that in-district members who are carrying the load of the district, of the cost for the district, have a fair pricing compared to what somebody in the, frankly, wealthier communities of Deerheart and Cannon Beach are coming in, but they were getting to participate, we were subsidizing. The district members were subsidizing Deerheart residents and Cannon Beach residents.
But in order to say that, we would have to know what our costs were.
Well, except if you take the whole budget as our cost, that's
Oh, I
basically
see.
what the
Okay.
idea was, take our whole budget as the cost, and what percentage of that comes from taxes. That's how we got to the percentage breakdowns that we were doing before.
We're all here next week.
Yeah, we can't,
That's
I mean,
budget meeting.
we can schedule a extra meeting for next Tuesday and do it either before or after the budget committee. The board could also, grant staffed with, the capacity to change the pickleball fee structure, or the pickleball and drop-in basketball fee structure, and we could work to implement that.
Yeah, I'm happy to make a motion to see if
But that doesn't help unless
Yeah.
we agree on the wisdom behind the pricing.
Well, and I think we need some data, and because I appreciate, sir, that you came forward, so who's gonna come forward next? And then we're gonna drop the whole thing.
It's gonna be dropping
yeah.
basketball now.
And I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to that. I simply think that we need to be able to say, this is why we did this, this is the logic behind it, and oh, this is also what's happening. We need to now take that human factor
Sure.
in to help make an informed decision.
I think, I'm fine with that. I think you have that. I think it's recorded in the meeting minutes from the discussions that you had. Like, you had many discussions, and then justification was provided, and we modeled out different fee structures and, what, the revenue generation would look like for those structures. And I can't remember who said it, but yeah, we didn't select the model that chose, that made us the most revenue. It was
Right.
the model that we felt like was most equitable, for, the members of the residents of the district to have the most access, and for those that aren't residents to bear a higher cost that was appropriate as determined by the board. So, but we can have some data presented, and I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Well,
I know
but
this is-
again, though, I think the board needs to provide guidance into what we want to accomplish with pricing. You know what I mean? I think
Well, I
if
think
it were me, I'd say let's break even on our operations and price it so that we can do that, or let's give,
Yeah.
Discount our residents, and don't discount the non-residents as much, so.
I mean, that is what I thought we came to, and I agree, there were different methods we could have taken, but I think that I would like to see us retain the percentage, whatever that math was in that chart originally, whichever one we picked, I can't remember off the top of my head, but retain that, because I think if we do different formulas for every different activity, we do get into the piece where I feel like it just becomes a heavier lift than.
Yeah.
What we're really, to me, the main goal was to get some fairness for residents who are already carrying the burden of that.
And I agree, but we also have the obligation to engage people in recreation.
Our members, our district.
Right, but I'm
I mean,
not,
that's why
I'm
we
not one
offer
of those,
them
I want the community to be healthy. Irrespective of which side of the line they live on. And I recognize that they have to contribute more for that privilege, but, I'm troubled by how much the recreation has decreased since the price change.
Well, I think so I think we're talking about two different discussions at the
Yes,
moment.
yes, exactly.
I think right now we're talking about pickleball, potentially drop-in basketball. I would agree with Celeste that I think we need to shift that so that the percentage remains the same, but we drop the rate for residents, which then would drop the rate for out of district.
So it's 125% or something like that?
Whatever I
So
also
if
have
we
the number.
lower the in-district rates to $3, that would put the non-district at like 6.5?
6 or 7 or something,
Yeah.
whatever the percentage. And I think that it would make sense that the out-of-district rate is competitive with other facilities in the area. So that's what we would look at with the other faciliity. Now, that doesn't take into account what it costs us to run it, which I think you're getting at, which I think we should do that analysis at some point, but.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, considering I was in Portland listening, and I remember there were like 5 choices. A lot of information was laid out, and we wanted to make sure we weren't price gouging anyone. We wanted to make sure that, because we're not in the business to be profitable, we're in the business to serve. And so I remember thinking there was something about 1%, And I don't remember the detail of that, but I remember, first of all, I remember you were surprised that when I was stuck there, you know, in Portland, and I couldn't make it back, that I was able to figure out from what you were saying. And I just don't remember a lot of the detail, but I know we were careful. I mean, this was not a moneymaker.
So, again, that's one topic. I think the second topic is how has this impacted our participation and our revenue? And that one is gonna require some research from Chris and Skylar and bring data, and I think that's a next board meeting kind of a thing.
Agreed.
So,
Do you want to have some interim pricing, in the
so
meantime?
I think I would like to hear from somebody that is not me, a motion to adjust the pickleball and if that is how because I feel like we're sort of kind of all sort of in the same genre, to allow staff to adjust that as we see fit, kind of, do the pricing with Armory and Rylea, see where that makes us competitive, and then adjust the percentage, right?
So, yeah, I'm happy to make a motion, but I would like to add before that, I mean, ultimately, what we want to see is Deerpark and Cannon Beach join the district. That's ultimately what we want to do, which would then allow us to expand access, maybe decrease pricing across the board for everybody. Like, it would let us do a lot of things if we had those communities join us. So anyways, I'm just reminding us that that was part of our purpose too. But I'd like to make a motion to allow staff to adjust both drop-in basketball or other drop-in kind of gym activities and pickleball, after doing a review of similar competitive activities for out-of-district members in the area, while retaining the same math formula for discounting for in-district members.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, signify aye. Opposed, nay. Kyle?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Celeste?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Jay, thank
Jay, you okay with
thank you
that?
for taking us.
Thank you.
Bringing this up with us.
Recognition of the SEPRD Employee of the Month. I don't know how you say his last name. Barry? Ferrer? Anybody?
Come on. You guys have known Marshall for
Come on,
like
HR.
decades.
I said free, and that was wrong.
I was like Ferrer.
Call his brother.
What did you say?
Call his father.
Ferrer, okay. Marshall, if you're watching, we apologize for not saying that correctly. Congratulations, Marshall, for being named Employee of the Month. He is a standout lifeguard who consistently goes above and beyond. With a strong work ethic, he's always ready to step in and help wherever needed, ensuring the safety and enjoyment of everyone at the pool. His dedication, reliability, and willingness to take on extra responsibilities make him an invaluable part of the team. Thank you for all you do. We have a fabulous gift certificate and certificate for Marshall when he returns. Moving right along, and for approval of board meeting minutes from March 18th.
I like what's written, but I would like to ask, under the Pledge of Allegiance, it always says led by Parker. Can we just change the title to be a little more respectful? You know, because everywhere else in the body of the minutes, it talks about director. Except here, it's led by Parker. Or led by Bodner.
Could be a chair partner.
You know, it would just be nice if it was something more than just, I hate
Is
you.
Your Highness okay?
Supreme ruler of the universe.
Led by
I accept my
board
crown.
president.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. I think that's great. I'm not sure why it's the way that it is, but
Thank you.
if that's the only mistake, I'm sorry.
Well,
It's not even a mistake,
Because we've
no.
always done it that way, so let's
It's a
change that.
preference. I did
Some
not
people
notice
started
it a
as
mistake,
pledge of allegiance.
but well, yeah, no comment.
I thought the minutes looked pretty good.
Yeah,
I move that we accept the minutes.
That's right.
thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kyle. All in favor, signify aye. Opposed, nay. Kyle?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Celeste?
Abstain?
Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Review of the financials from March of 2025. Any questions for Chris? Sue?
Well, I had about a dozen questions, but I got to ask him this morning,
Perfect.
because he happened to just be right there when I walked in to go to the pool.
I got a couple.
Go for it.
So under revenues, the third line down, Broadway Field Fund and Special Events Fund, those are out of whack with the averages, so I'm just wondering, are those seasonal?
Step up, so
Oh.
can you? Yeah, so,
Broadway Field Fund and,
so Broadway Field Fund,
special events?
the big one we're waiting for is the, partnership payment. So it's actually gonna be a little over because they didn't get last year's until this fiscal year. So I'm gonna really push them so that
Oh,
we
I
get this
see.
year's as well.
So they
We're just
pay-
waiting on one
They
payment.
pay once
They're supposed to pay once.
for the
They
year?
had a little, I don't know if it was turnover in accounting, somebody else was doing AP.
So booked into a
Yeah, sorry.
different.
Well, yeah, I figured you,
No turnover, nope.
no?
Okay.
That's just a little,
So
We'll
what
miss that.
about special events?
special events, that one we tackle each time. Zoe just is Zoe and gets a lot more in sponsorship than we would typically think. And, we also got that, farmer's market grant this year. So that
Oh,
wouldn't happen, probably next year. I don't know if we're gonna go in for that again.
oh,
It's a
awesome.
resiliency grant.
So the same question under expenses for SRC materials and supplies.
Yeah, that's gonna be the, fire suppression, because they
Okay.
didn't finish the job
Then you
last
book
year.
that under expenses?
Well, it rolls under, capital, because unless you want a 3-page long, we'd have to break down everything.
So the
material
capital,
supplies, services is also under
so
capital.
capital's included under expenses?
Yeah, because it's a capital
Okay.
expense.
Well, okay. So then, there's this company called Civic Plus?
Yep.
Or this check.
So that
we wrote
is-
to
They're all the
Civic
same
Plus?
questions I
They're all the
have.
things to do. I've already got all the answers. That's for, the new website that's gonna be able to, it's gonna eliminate.
Oh, that's a software vendor.
Yep.
Okay.
It'll also, free up an expense from, when we would have to pay to send out those mass notifications. It's actually built into the website. Sorry, I took away some of your stuff.
Okay.
I'll be presenting on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
since, you know, the only question that you didn't ask him, that I asked was the $24,000 for, do you wanna just,
Yeah, every now and then we get kind of two of the health insurance bills together, just happen to line up that way. And instead of going, okay, I'm gonna pay this check separate, we lump it into one check and pay them. Yeah,
So
they're
it's
a
prepaid,
little behind.
it's a prepaid.
Yeah, and every now and then they just get behind on it, comes, and sometimes we pay too long.
I'm good.
Any other questions?
you know, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, like, the Northwest, what is it? Pacific Northwest and, Northwest Natural, sorry.
Yeah.
And Pacific Power, are we seeing those increase, just like mine increase?
Yeah, I mean, you get your normal increase, like winter, both go up, and then sometimes will come down. We haven't really noticed it come down as much, but, I mean, I kind of expected Pacific Power to be up a little bit more. They kind of did make that announcement a little while back, that, some of those prices were gonna go up.
And so we're rolling that into the budget.
Doing our best.
But yeah, I mean, both of them are still on track to be pretty accurate. We did budget for that, increase last year, and I think we were pretty close to being right on track with it.
Ready to move?
Go for it.
I move that the board accept the financial report.
Sue, all in favor, signify by opposing the cloud. Sue?
Aye.
Plus? Aye. Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Moving right along. Haley?
Thank you. Aye. Yeah, I was just gonna hand those out, so, just, bring a copy if you need them. All right.
All right,
There we go.
loaded slide, but, I just kind of wanted to give a brief overview of kind of just my job, and a lot of this honestly is day-to-day stuff, but also, just kind of bigger projects that happen throughout the week, month, all of that kind of stuff. So kind of the first, area is with coaching and conflict resolution. A lot of my day is mentoring and coaching full-time staff on handling really difficult conversations, and then just kind of working through how to have those conversations, how to approach it, how to start it. I think a lot of us like to not avoid the difficult conversation, but it's really hard to start a difficult conversation. So I really like to sit down with our full-time staff and kind of coach them through that. Also, just providing the tools and the support for managing those conflicts independently. There's always the benefit of having two people a part of that conversation just for accountability, but really giving full-time staff that support to handle those conversations and conflicts independently. Also, assisting in real time with sensitive or complex employee situations, and that can be like one-on-one with just a regular employee, part-time, full-time. So really a lot of things come through my door a lot of the day. Sometimes, Isaiah jokes that it's just a revolving door of people and situations because we're all human, and I'm here for people to get to. So again, on that employee support and engagement, I onboard all the new employees, welcoming, and we do a thorough orientation. They go through kind of the onboard packet. There's the onboard training, which is all online. They do a sit down with Isaiah to kind of show them how to clock in and out, do all of that fun stuff. That is not my wheelhouse. And then we also do kind of a tour of the entire district and walk through all of our programs, all of our spaces, and kind of all of that. Throughout my day, I just like to foster a culture of belonging and positivity, just like really checking in on people, offering that one-on-one conversation in their space, but also just saying hi. I really like to step into rooms, especially with classrooms and even like the PRS projects, and just pick up some shifts for everybody, but also just to help, but also to hear kind of like the troubles in the moment, rather than when it gets down the line to me. So I'm going to skip the marketing and kind of come back to that one as we're on the HR side of things, and then switch over. But so HR administration and compliance, maintain all the personnel records, so filing, which everybody loves to do. Monitor and implement any changes in employment, labor laws, regulations. Also advise the managers on new policy updates and with legal compliance. We all like to do certain things, but we might make sure that we're following the legal laws and all that stuff. And then a super awesome thing that we've been doing is also coordinating paid leave organ benefits, and then just tracking all that fun stuff. So some strategic projects that we've been working on, we created a culture assessment last year. We ran it again this year, so we'll kind of talk about it in another slide. But maintain and create staff communication tools and contact system. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth. And then develop employment engagement programs and like feedback channels, so for them to give their feedback however they want to do it, all that kind of stuff. And then marketing, communications.
Haley,
yeah.
Can you describe some of those employee engagement programs?
Yeah, so actually recently we just did a coffee at Seaside Coffee House. So Skylar really led the effort, but we went around and just kind of let staff know that was happening, did some marketing for it, talked one-on-one. We really made sure that everybody was able to either get down there, so we would just step into a classroom or step into a PRS so they could go down, get their coffee and then come back, or we bought their coffee and brought it back to them. But those little things, I know it sounds really silly, but those little things like mean a lot to an employee, and then just kind of being that like listening ear, where I'm kind of developing like a Google form essentially, that's just going to kind of be a live Google form that staff can fill out whenever they want, whenever they have any kind of feedback about anything. So that's just been kind of in the works, but right now I just like to check in and say, hey, how did that go? Like, did you like it? What did you not like? What worked? What didn't work? And then just kind of writing that stuff down. But that kind of goes back to like the in the moment and like assisting in real time and just being present and being an ear for her staff. It goes a long way. I know it sounds silly, but it goes a long way.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the surveys that we get back, are there any leading questions that people, the staff can say? I mean, I know what I'm trying to communicate, but I don't know if I'm doing it well. I have an example. So I'm a nurse.
Okay.
And in nursing, we would look for positive and negative concerns so we could improve.
Mhm.
And one of the complaints that used to be consistent was I didn't have a bath. Well, that's because we don't have a tub. But they had a bed bath, or they had a shower,
Mhm.
but they didn't have a bath.
Mhm.
And so while that's splitting hairs,
Mhm.
it showed up consistently until we changed our language to say, I'm going to give you your bath today, we're going to do a bed bath. And people went, oh yeah, I did have a bath.
Mhm.
It just wasn't in a tub. And while that sounds silly, I mean, it was and just the language we used, to say, we always pull the curtain.
Mhm.
Well, now we added, I'm pulling the curtain to protect your privacy.
Mhm.
And so when the comments came back, oh yeah, they pulled the curtain for my privacy, not, I didn't think about them pulling the curtain.
Mhm.
And so what I'm trying to ask is the surveys that we have for, our staff, are you seeing, since I'm grateful that you're here, are you seeing that there is a positive feedback coming because these programs have been implemented to uplift and manage up our employees?
Yeah, I think last year, we did the culture assessment, and kind of the biggest thing was, like staff outings. And so that was kind of one thing that we looked at and kind of implemented was these staff outings, these staff to get together. So if that's what you're getting at, but a lot of our feedback really genuinely is positive. We have a few, people that, I don't want to say that aren't happy, but like, we can't meet the needs of everybody. But a lot of our staff is really happy with a lot of things. So am I answering your question? I'm sorry.
I mean, what I wanted to do is make sure you're getting credit for what you're doing. And so in the questions, is there language that is present on this board that is something where, just like telling people, oh yeah, I did have a bath.
Mhm.
It's just it wasn't in a tub.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden.
So it's two-way feedback rather than just one.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just looking for, are we capturing that kind of, hey, yeah, this is a great place to work, and I appreciate the staff communication, I appreciate the engagement programs because we did this and we did that, so that the credit for what you're doing is present, and people can say, oh yeah.
I think what you're trying to get, so at the school, we have the wellness program, and after every wellness activity,
Mhm.
they send out a survey saying, what did you like about that wellness
Yeah.
program, saying, what could we improve on?
Mhm.
So specific to special things like the copy,
Yeah.
sending out a feedback like, how can we improve on this?
Mhm.
What did you like about this thing that we did for you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get to that, with our mass notification system, because we actually created a
Yeah, I
whole
was
thing
looking
for
for
just
blank.
staff. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
okay. We created an entire, kind of communication loop for just staff with our new mass notification system. And that's one of the things that they allow you to build in, polls. So we can send out polls and those kind of things through that system. And they'll go through text message, email. I can go into it a little bit more if it was further down, but, I just kind of did just like a really brief overview of my day. And then, kind of in the bottom there, marketing communication. So I designed and published the playbook, the new program guide, create flyers, social media content, and then, I put internal announcements, which is the internal and external announcements, and then collaborate with program staff to highlight the different offerings. Okay, so I kind of wanted to do a little overview of our employee intention and satisfaction. Again, the culture assessment really captured a lot more of this information, so it's kind of a higher level, but from April 2024 to April 2025, when I'm giving this presentation, we've hired a total of 27 employees. Out of those 27 employees, 8 departed. 2 2 are actually returning staff, and they come back every single year, so I didn't count them, but one day they might not come back. And they work in our summer camp. So it does it to 6, so our retention rate is at 77.8%, which is actually pretty good for a smaller park and rec that is really part-time heavy. You know, we don't have a lot of full-time positions available, and when they do come up, they're in really high demand. So it's pretty good. I put Portland Park and Rec as an example. Their average retention rate is 87%, but granted, they have like 350 full-time positions. Like, it's a lot different kind of environment, but I just kind of wanted to highlight that we're pretty close up there, and a lot of our positions.
What do you use for the numerator and denominator for retention rate?
I'm sorry.
How do you calculate retention rate?
I'm gonna be entirely honest, but I used the thing that gives the math for me.
Uh-huh.
I gave it what I wanted. Math is not my strong suit.
Okay, so, what is included under departures? So if an employee fails to meet the requirements of their probationary period, is that considered a departure?
Yes, but I will say we have not fired anybody because of that.
Or sometimes they leave during their probation.
Yeah,
For whatever reason.
Yeah, and to be entirely honest, I think we've only maybe had 1 or 2 employees that have left during that. But we honestly, we really try really hard to meet the employee where they're at and then build upon that, rather than just saying, oh, nope, you're not going to work out, you need to leave. We really try to meet them where they're at and then and build them up.
So then, of those, how many FTEs are included in the 27 hires?
No.
0 FTEs? So they were all part-timers or volunteers?
That's all part-time staff that were hired.
Okay, so what's the FTE for part-time staff? Is it 0.5 or 0.2?
The number?
Yeah.
How many compared to part-time staff?
No, how many hours does a part-time worker work in a week?
Oh, up to 35.
Up to 35?
Yeah. I mean, on average, that's what we're striving for there. Yeah.
Okay.
But
so it's full-time adjacent in many cases?
for some, yeah, not for all. I mean, we have some that are, Marshall is a great example. Our employee of the month, he's working close to 40 hours a week in several different positions. And we have fitness instructors that are maybe working 2 or 3 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty broad range, but yeah, by law, we're asked to keep part-time employees under a certain hours threshold on average. So we do our best to comply with that, and then if we go over, they go over, then we get it.
So the 27 employees equals maybe 20 FTEs or?
Well, I would say probably like closer to 10.
Oh, okay.
If I had to guess.
Yeah, okay, that helps.
Yeah.
So the 8 employees that departed included like Justin?
I think what Haley is talking about in this, if I can extract a little bit, is that we hired 27 employees, and of those 27, 8 departed. So of the 27 that we hired in basically a 12-month period of time, 8
total in the entire organization, right?
No, I think she's saying 8 of the 27.
8 of the 27,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
sorry, April 2024 to April 2025, we've hired 27 employees, 8 of those departed, 2 of those were summer camp staff that come back.
Right, but that's how you calculated the retention rate?
Yes, for this year.
Okay.
So it's not a huge, like, it's not our entire retention rate. So.
Awesome.
So from the culture assessment, from the job satisfaction, we got over 75% of employees report being satisfied with their job. That is like a direct question, it's like a little fun little scale thing that they get to move. And so it kind of just reflects like this positive and supportive work environment that I think everybody here embodies and tries to do every day. I wanted to highlight Paid Leave Oregon because it is a new program that the state offers, so we really have zero control over it, but being able to offer it as a resource to employees has been really beneficial. We've had 5 employees utilize Paid Leave Oregon this year, and the benefit really increases that employees get this time to take care of whatever they need to, and then be able to come back and like just be a whole new person and ready to work. So I just really wanted to highlight it because, it's a kind of a controversial program right now, but, I think it's been great.
When we send, somebody off to fight fires, that's not part of that, correct? Okay.
So the April 2024 data, do you have any data that's previous to April 2024?
I could get whatever data you need,
Well, what I'm interested in is the trend. Are we getting better? You would like to say, but you won't.
No, that is not what I'm saying. I would like to advocate for myself, so we are getting better.
Oh, good, okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
But like I said, I do not have the data or the correct numbers to give you that.
No, I just want to hear you say we're getting better. Things are improving.
See, I'm looking at the fact that we've looked at a few years of the surveys, and they, in my opinion, they seem to be inching toward better.
Mhm.
And baby steps, you can only do so much, but
For paid leave Oregon, is that available to all employees or just part-time?
all employees.
And so how are we calculating if we have part-time employees that are working 2 or 3 hours a week, do they receive revenue for those? Are they paid? How do you know how much time they get paid for?
That's, not up to me at all. The state, dictates all of that. So essentially, they go on to Paid Leave Oregon, you apply, and you give, the state all of your information. And then based on your own revenue that you receive, that's how much the state will, pay you.
But we pay into this, like, we have to pay the state amount.
Yeah, it's 2%.
We do,
It's
and
like workers' comp.
we do, and employees do also.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like
A share.
point
Yeah, it's
0.01% of 1% of their gross income, and then we pay a portion of it too. And I can get you more data or more information for
No,
it.
that's,
Yeah.
it's okay, I'm just, and then I'm also wondering then, who approves the reason for paid leave? Because it's not for
State.
anything, the
The
state
state.
takes care of all of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is,
all I do is have all of the knowledge and all the information and send them the link, and then the state does the rest.
Okay, but the reason I would wonder is like, what does it do to us in terms of staffing if somebody's paid and gone? Like, and we're holding their position, like, in some businesses, depending on what size you are, that's a hardship. In other businesses, you have redundancy and it's not such a big deal. And I'm just wondering what it does for us in terms of having, I mean, you said 5 employees have used it this year. That seems like a lot for our staff size, but I don't know. I'm just wondering what impact it makes to our.
Maybe it depends on the employee, the position.
It might, yeah, so.
It also depends on the length of time.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so, paid leave does essentially, provide, job protection. So once the state approves, their job is protected, and that's kind of just the biggest reason. But as a smaller district, it does create a little bit of hardship, on full-time staff, but, me being the person that I am, I'd rather work a little bit extra to help somebody so then they can come back feeling better. But that's, I think, maybe a personal belief.
My personal experience, because I've seen it, is I'm sure it's a coordinated effort because people step up to take on those responsibilities because it is a short-term benefit. And the situations I'm aware of, people understand. And
Well,
so,
and you yourself could take advantage of it next.
Yes.
But this is an important benefit for employees.
Yep.
This is really crucial. I think, I really support the program. I think we really need to take care of employees,
Yeah, I just was wondering what it does to impact the employees
It
who
does, it will, yeah.
aren't on leave and how much,
Yeah.
because that can burn people out. That's
Right.
part of what I wonder is, like, we don't want to burn other employees
Yeah.
out at that expense. I agree with the philosophy of it.
It seems like it's structured like workers' comp.
Do we?
You know, employers and employees pay in.
So working for the
Employees
school
benefits.
district, when we have an employee that's gonna be out on extended PLO, we hire a sub.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's no like subbing for, park and rec, but do we ever consider hiring temps?
Yeah, we have talked about it, we just, don't have like a temporary job description, and that's kind of just our holdup. But yes, I have thought about it, but a few of those employees have actually applied to use it the entire year. So technically, you can only use it for the 14 to 16 weeks, whatever essentially you apply for. You have it for the entire year, and they can take certain days off. And so they don't have to use it for the extended period of time. So it just kind of puts us in it does put us in a weird situation, but luckily those employees kind of say, hey, I'm going to take this day off for my report, and we figure it out. But you're right. I do want to look at something like that. We just have to kind of create those job descriptions that are the temporary jobs.
You know, I think, Celeste, with the number of part-timers that we have, I think that increases our elasticity. You know, we can.
Maybe, yeah, that's a good point, maybe it does.
You know, if they were 27 full-time employees and 5 left, that would be onerous.
Yeah.
But I think the number of part-timers actually helps us out
Yeah.
because they can flex more hours. This is good stuff, Haley.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question.
No, it's
That's my
awesome. No,
ability.
it's awesome.
Okay, so our next thing, we transitioned over to our online training. So, is it Vector Solutions or Safe Personnel now? Vector Solutions.
Yeah.
And so they're required to complete five trainings every year. So we do the same 5 trainings every year. But the really great thing about this system that we're using, that if we feel like an employee needs a little extra training, a little extra something, we can assign it to them, and they can do it kind of just whenever. But these are our 5 basic everybody does every year. So the sexual harassment prevention, diversity, equity, inclusion, workplace bullying awareness, workplace injury prevention, and then discrimination awareness.
I'm sorry, is number 2 threatened?
No.
Okay.
Are these in order of priority? Are they all equal priority, or some more important than others?
I think they're all equal priority. And that's why to be entirely honest, I had a list of like 15 that I wanted to give them. But I'm not going to do that. So we narrowed it down to these 5. And like I said, if we feel like a staff member needs a little extra help in something or just wants to get extra training, they have access to an entire library of training. So.
That's interesting, the mandatory trainings, because I've been getting these emails from something called Vector
Yeah, that's
Training,
it.
and I've been doing those. And
You're very well
I don't have
trained.
time to sit down and do the whole thing.
Oh,
one
yeah,
time.
no, so
But
I've
been doing those, and then, but they're not keeping track of the ones that I've completed.
It does keep track, so I have it on my end, when you complete something. I actually assigned you guys
Is
to
that
a
right?
board, a board group, because I think there was an SEAO training that we had to, report back on that was completed. So I lumped you all into a board group, and assigned the training, so I think that's probably why you're getting those emails. Yeah.
Good job, Mike.
Am
I supposed to be
Trying to do
getting
my job.
these emails?
You are getting the emails.
Oh,
They're-
dear.
they're-
I don't know
I'm
that.
getting them, but at one time, I think it was maybe last summer, Skylar said that, the training wasn't in place yet, the requirements weren't solidified.
We have a letter about that.
Yeah, and so I've been ignoring them. Should I have been taking those?
You're fine.
Yeah.
The board is not under the same requirements
Yeah.
as our
Okay.
staff are.
These are mandatory for staff, so yes, I will get on them for not completing their training. But they have from, April 15th to June 30th, when our performance evals need to be done and signed. So they've got a good window of time, to get them done, so. Our employee handbook, we also, put it into the system, so it's, digitally accessed now. We do have hard copies available, throughout the district as well, but, I just thought that was a good thing to show in there because you can access it literally wherever now. They don't need to come find me and say, hey, what's this page in the employee handbook? So it's all, readily available, throughout the whole day. Okay, so our culture assessment. So our culture assessment, I think, is super important because it provides valuable insight into our workplace environment, but it really helps us understand where we're lacking, and what we need to do to better meet the needs of the staff, but also just how they're feeling like throughout the day, and throughout their tenure with us. So again, staff satisfaction was around 70%, reporting a positive experience. One thing that was kind of brought up a lot was recognition, and just insights on how to better recognize staff for their contributions. I know for some people, they don't want the recognition, but some people really want the recognition and they really want it this way. And so I think that's really important to know, and it's really important to kind of meet staff where they're at and what kind of recognition they want. While it is hard, it is important. And then another thing is communication, and I think this goes without saying in probably every organization everywhere that we need to improve on communication, which I think our mass notification system will really help a lot with that, and all of that. 72% of staff described working at SEPRD as a family. So I really like to highlight that just because, like, we are one big, loving family. So, yeah. Our all-staff training, so we hold 2 all-staff trainings, both the fall and the spring. That was from our holiday party. This year, our training is going to be on May 22nd. That's a Wednesday, but it's Thursday. From 6 to 8, dinner served at 5:30. And then our topics this year covered the employee handbook update. So we had some pretty big changes to our employee handbook, so we're going to kind of just run a brief overview of those. A customer service training focused both on internal and external customer service, because staff customer service interaction is just as important as interactions with the public. I think we forget that because of how close we get to each other, but it's still just a really important aspect. And then we're actually going to have a DEI presenter come in and kind of give a good, well-rounded training to kind of our staff. That's for this. Director of Program Search, as you all know, Aaron O'Dane is our new Director of Program. And I kind of just wanted to highlight just what we did. I'm sure Scott already really talked about it, but it was really fun to see how many internal, because we only opened it to internal applicants. And it was really fun to see just like all these staff members are like, I want to apply, I want to do it, I want to do it. And it was a really positive thing for me to see how much people loved being here and just wanted to move up within the organization. And even just to go through the process to gain that interview experience. We had 5 internal candidates apply to the Director of Programs positions. They participated in comprehensive evaluations with the interview. They did a presentation that evaluated a program for viability, recommendations for program improvement, and then a one-on-one interview with Tyler. So, it was a full day thing, and it was a lot of fun. So I only printed one because I didn't want to print a bunch of these because it's a lot of color, and I'm a paper person. So this is our new program guide. We kind of did a revamp. We started it last year. You saw our fall guide. So this is kind of just the new look and the feel. And if you want to take a look, that's our summer guide. That's a draft. It has been sent off to the printer, so we'll get new ones. But
when does that come out?
Whenever they get here. But it's been sent off, and they really only take like 2 or 3 days to print, and then they ship it, so no later than May 1st, it'll be ready, for the shelves and stuff. But yeah, we reimagined and rebranded, the new name. We called it the Playbook, celebrating our commitment to positive life activities for you, consistent design, so unified fonts across headers, paragraphs, for a more clean cohesion feel. And then I really wanted to kind of honor our roots and the design elements, which kind of bring back of just that we just started as a pool and now look where we are. So there's like kind of water aspects all throughout the program guide to bring all that in. And then the theme is just the fun, playful, and approachable, just like the programs we offer. So, if you've seen our old ones,
It's a nice work. It's a nice piece of work.
I handed out 100 at the egg hunt
Yeah, so.
Every single one of them went.
Good, we need those ones to go, because the summer ones are coming out.
Yeah, I could've handed out more, I just ran out.
But yeah, so this one's gonna highlight all of our summer programs. We did switch to just doing 2, but I think we might have a need for 3. But we're kind of evaluating. This is, social media engagement. I kind of want to just highlight some of our social media engagement and the rise and fall, and it happens all the time because Facebook and Instagram and all of that catches snapshots throughout your day, so when there's nobody on their page, they catch it. And so it's just kind of a reach. But in general, we have around 2,719 followers. Primarily women in their 35 to 45 and then 45 to 65 range. So that's a really important aspect because that's kind of our target audience. The men's side is a little down, so I would like to kind of reach out to more in that demographic area. But so our Facebook views, so it's important because we have 2,000 followers, but we're actually reaching around 19,000 people, it means we're reaching far more than who's actually following us, if that makes sense.
Can you just help me with what the light blue and the dark blue is, because I can't.
Oh, yeah. So the light blue is women, in their age groups, of their demographics, and then the dark blue is men. So as you can see, we're reaching way more women than men.
I'm gonna guess the spike there was the crosswalk post.
Probably, honestly. Yeah, you can tell kind of when, like I said, when posts do well, you can see it around here too. And then link clicks. So this one, I have been trying really hard to ramp up. So adding more links to our posts, so that they'll generate right back to our website. So they'll click it and they'll go to our website. So that's what this one is tracking. So 78, which is good. We're still up 41%. We're up 12% and we're up 16 for the reach. So we're moving in the right direction, which is really awesome. And as you can kind of see, it ebbs and flows as social media ebbs and flows.
What social media accounts do we have?
So we have Facebook and Instagram for both our Seaside Farmers Market and Sunset Empire Park and Rec. So 2 accounts, but doing the same thing.
Do we have, follow us on social media, posts, flyers around?
We do. Yeah. And
I will admit that I don't.
Reader boards.
on our page. Actually, I mean, it would be really helpful, not just for the board, but for everyone that is a supporter of the district, to follow our page and then to share when, like, we have a post about the egg hunt, for example, just to share that on their own personal page. It's the way the algorithm works is the more people do that, the more obviously it's going to show up on their feed, but it's also going to organically show up in other people's feeds. And I think everybody probably knows this, but as soon as you stop, we have paid for posts in the past, and as soon as you stop doing that, your information gets shoved down like to the nethermost part of the basement on people's pages. And so as much as we can organically grow our reach, and it's such an important way in our community for information to be shared. And there's goods and bads with that, but yeah, I think social media is a pretty important factor in how many people hear about our programs and such.
You know, if you put the daily pickleball schedule on social media, all of days, we'd even up those lines pretty quickly.
Yeah, they don't get any information.
They don't get any?
No, nobody knows anything about it. I tell everybody at all those places, but I don't think they go to social media at all.
I think the new, I just signed up for the alerts on
For our mass notifications?
For the mass notifications, yeah, and I think that's gonna be a really great.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna hit on that, the pickleball.
You're jumping the shark.
No, it's okay.
All right.
We're moving in the right direction,
Okay.
so that's awesome. So, Civic Ready. Also, I
I'm on social
think,
media.
I think the entire thing is called Civic Plus, so that's, Civic Ready is the mass notification system. I don't know what the website is, Civic.
Civic One?
Civic One?
Yeah.
Okay. It's all Civic, which is really awesome because currently we use Civic Rec for, like our registration software, so the back end of stuff. So SEPRD is our new mass notification system. So it's going to take away the different platforms like our text messaging system that you have to log into separately, the MailChimp, which you have to log into separately, all these different platforms and things that we have to log in separately and everybody all has to do differently is all in one place now. So it's going to be really awesome. So I transferred over 1,500 emails into our system, and then 560 phone numbers that it would let me that said were actual phone numbers. And then we were able to create staff-specific text groups. So we have a district all-staff text, and then there's a youth programs text, there's aquatics text groups. So as we add more groups, it's going to get a little more complicated, but for right now, we're just using that all-staff as we kind of figure out and move through the motions and all that kind of stuff. But it was really awesome. We actually used it for our first coffee outing. Isaiah got the first text message, and it went off great. And he got the text message, he got an email all at one time, and it took me 2 minutes. So that was really great. So on the other side of that, for external, we were able to create those groups. So in SEPRD news and information, we have our very own pickleball group, aquatics, youth programs. So more specific information to go to those specific groups.
Is it solely our members, or would, like, you can sign up?
Yeah, so anybody can sign up. So I actually just transitioned all of the, can I go better? Oh, never mind.
On our landing page, we have that box up there, and it has the instructions
Which
for what
Celeste just used.
to do to sign up.
Yeah, so that's on our website. It went on social media, but I also replaced all of our QR codes so they can, all throughout the district, so whenever anybody comes up, they can sign up for alerts. And you can sign up for text messaging. You can go specifically to the SEPRD platform and create your own account and sign up for whatever programs you want or whatever information you want. But the text will sign you up just for the general information. So you'd have to go into the website and select your preferences at some point.
So for example, I get some text at the pool clubs. Is that, I don't know, is that SEPRD?
It wasn't, but it will be now. So we were using a different, essentially a different platform to send out those texts. We had to pay for the subscription, and then we had to pay for character and text that went out. So this gives us unlimited text, unlimited access, unlimited contacts, which is going to be really great.
If, of those 1,500 emails, if they sign up with the system, can they update, like, their phone numbers and things, and then it will automatically update our system?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, you can like click the link and literally like, I don't want these emails anymore. You can unclick it. Like, it's great.
Is this like brand new? And I'm saying that because I know one of the text groups I'm in, we're always saying, who is this? So I always sign, this is Sue, and this is Carol, and this is somebody else.
Yeah, so the text actually at the bottom says Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District, and then the message is in there. So it says who the text is coming from, but then it's also got the general like text stop to opt out, like all that kind of stuff. But yes, it comes from us. We can also set up a phone call, so I can create a text and then send it out, and it'll voice the text as a phone call, and our phone number says Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District. So you'll get an automated call that says, this is Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District. The pool is closed till 8 a.m. due to IT conditions. So yeah, it's really awesome.
So I recognize you're probably still learning how this whole thing will work, and which is fine, but just as a user, I am not, as a user, it is of no help to me to know that it's on SEPRD. In other words, when I text that SEPRD to that number, it comes back telling me that I'm signed up to Sunset Park and Recreation.
Yeah, that's the point. I was just telling you it's SEPRD because that's the company.
But you might want to just consider that in your marketing to simplify it, because there it says like go to public site or network sign up, and so I don't know like how those instructions might need to be tweaked to be user friendly.
And I hear you. And the flyers that I put around the district, I was going to grab one, but they're lost in the closet. I changed them to sign up. It's not that.
It's different.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
so
Okay.
that was just what we put on the website, because right now we're transitioning to the different website, and so a lot of the information that we have on there, we either need to take off or update, and so I've just been trying to put the most easiest general information as possible. So when you actually click that picture, it takes you right to the platform, to the SEPRD platform.
On the website?
On the website, it's,
Got it.
I'm gonna say on your phone, it's probably not the best.
Well, I just followed those instructions.
Oh,
At the
okay.
bottom to text it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't take me to a website.
Yeah, the text won't, so that's the thing, if you just text, it'll just give you the general news and information. But if you click the link, it'll take you to our landing page, which is also one thing that we'll have built into our website, and it'll be the actual, landing page where you can go onto the website, select your preferences, all that kind of stuff, so you won't have all these clunky links, once our website, is live. The new website is live, so something to consider, as we kind of transition to that. That's it.
Do you have any questions for us?
I have a question.
No more, you reach your limit.
Oh, okay, sorry, I'm done.
Go, guys.
No, and it's more philosophical, but I think the best employees come from promotions in the same organization. So how do you prepare employees with the competencies they need for promotion?
Yeah, that's really important. So, actually, I like I said, I like to meet staff like where they're at, and really talk to them about all of the training opportunities that we have, but also kind of, plant those seeds, like, hey, we have these positions, like, what do you think you would need to be able to work in that position? And then just really hear them, and then understanding that we have these great partnerships with ORPA, and we can send them to staff. We actually had a part-time staff go to one of those trainings.
But what competencies are needed, say, for Skylar's position? I mean.
That would be a you guys.
No, but you have to identify, we'd look to you for your expertise. But, I mean, you'd have to identify what competencies are needed in different positions, and then train your people to those competencies.
Yeah.
Like Skylar's competency is dealing with ambiguity. I mean, because there's never any answers, I mean, you just have to deal with this fluid
To
environment.
that point, though, if I'm a program manager at Park and Rec, like, what competencies do I need to grow within myself to become a director at something?
Well,
Like,
exactly.
that's what I want to do.
Well,
That's exactly what
And I
I'm
think
saying.
you already have that, because 5 people internally applied for Erin's position.
Yeah, and I think that really goes from just the manager's perspective, like knowing their employees, where they need to, what they need to improve on, or what they're doing really well. And I think those our evals, our yearly evals, is really a chance to give that feedback, but also for the employee to say, like, this is what I need, and meeting those. But to be honest, if you got soft skills, we can train you to do a lot, if you're willing.
Well, but some of these competencies are all but impossible to develop in people like, there's all sorts of complicated issues for each level of the organization. So somebody 2 levels below Skylar may not deal with strategy.
Yeah.
But, so how are they gonna develop those skills prior to promoting? And, I just think we need to identify what competencies are needed, and then have a plan that employees can develop themselves, or we can develop them, but.
Well, Justin is now.
Skylar and Justin are a prime example.
Well, no, but is that an anecdote, or is that a feature?
Yeah, because I think it's hard to do, actually. We're doing
Very
it for my
hard to do,
organization
yeah.
right now. We're redoing our competencies, and it's difficult because, and part of the reason I think it's so important is that we just recognize that when we do performance reviews need to be more than about how well liked somebody is, or even that they show up every day. Like what is somebody being? Because the only fair way to review somebody's performance is that they know what they're going to be reviewed about. And part of what we want to recognize is when people grow competencies in areas that are important to our organization. So, for instance, for Sunset, for us, for the district, I would imagine that a competency is like one category might be like public engagement, for instance. That might, because everybody has to do some of that, but it's different at different stages, right? Like a lower level person that doesn't have manager duty, like I don't know, like a lifeguard or a front desk person has a lot of public engagement, but it's at a certain level. But when you get to Skylar, he's dealing with conflicts that come up with the public. Like there's different competencies. There's like anyway, I agree with you. I think it's important, but I think knowing what those, for us, for my organization, we've actually spent 3 months trying to figure out what are the key competencies that have to exist at our organization for an employee to be successful.
Just do the card sort.
I wonder
Yeah, we use that.
what is already here that allowed Justin to grow, to go take over in Nehalem.
Yeah.
Because he didn't, I mean, his desire, but also he had the skills, and that's homegrown.
And I think that goes a lot to say about our culture, and that our management team really wants to see our part-time staff learn and grow and that kind of stuff. And that's just, to me, yes, knowing your competencies, but also just knowing who that staff member is, what they need, and what they need to grow. And then taking that time to find those resources. Right now, I probably just don't have the bandwidth to be like, okay, you need these competencies to be able to do this, you know, like. But I really think our managers do a really good job at building our employees and creating those relationships. But also just that one-on-one open feedback between each other, like, hey, I'm not very good at this. Like, how can I get better? And the manager's like, okay, I hear you. Let's go find some stuff. So
But how do they know that this is important?
I think it's important to them.
Right.
And like.
Well, I mean, but the skills that are needed at Skylar's level are very different from 1 or 2 or 3 levels below him. And my goal would be to ensure that, you know, if Skylar wins the lottery or gets hit by a beer truck or whatever causes him to leave the organization, that we have a plan in place to replace him in an emergency or with a 6-month, you know, warning.
Write down all your questions.
Well, you know what I'm saying. I think, you know,
So throw salt over your shoulder.
it would be a big loss to this organization if Skylar was suddenly incapacitated for whatever reason. And as the board, I think it's important for us to know that there's a plan to ensure that the operations continue, even in the event of a important staff member. Maybe it's not Skylar, maybe it's, you know, Isaiah or somebody that knows the IT stuff. But, you know, I just think it's important to have backup systems in place so we know that.
I don't have the perfect solution, like Celeste said, she's been working on it for
I think a
months.
lot of that already actually exists, it just may not be articulated. You know, having Darren bring Isaiah and Adam along, and now Darren can step back. I mean, that's part of that, but it's probably not black and white.
I was gonna say, it's not black and white, and it's not written down, and I think, like I said, our culture really just embodies this, like, we want to help you grow, and we want to help you lead. Maybe it's not specifically for this position, but regardless, we want to help you grow and lead in any kind of career that you want to. And so, yeah, it's not black and white, it's not written down, but I think all of our managers, Skylar included, like, foster that culture, and building people, regardless of what job it is.
Do we have job descriptions for everyone?
And the local.
Well, and then the other thing that I wanted to share, I saw an email go out about you guys are doing a staff connection event, I think in May. Where you were, June, offering a bunch of different choices for staff to go participate in, which I think is amazing. I will share our district does their wellness monthly events And that is one of the things that, staff consistently say makes them feel the most appreciated and valued is by having these staff connection events every month.
Yeah.
And offering, so I don't know if you're aware, but so the school district, we have Wellness Wednesdays. They offer a choice of usually 5 to 10 different activities. You sign up and our school gets out early on Wednesdays, so there's an hour that you get to go and do pottery or, go do a book club or go take a walk with a group or, whatever thing is happening. Sometimes, our coordinator signs up, has guest speakers and things come in. But it is very consistently the thing that people point to and say, I feel appreciated and valued because the district puts forth effort into making that happen. So I was very excited to see that that is a thing, and I hope that that continues and becomes more truly like a monthly staff connection event.
Yeah, we're super excited.
Is that Earth Day event part of that?
No,
There?
no.
On Wednesday? No.
Okay, thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's pretty awesome.
Okay, Brandon is on, yes?
I gotta let him in.
Okay. And Jay, you are welcome at any point to leave. We're not gonna have our feelings hurt.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
have
very
a good night.
Hey, Jay,
Appreciate
thanks
your
for,
being here.
$5 is a sweet spot.
thanks for the letter.
Thank you.
Brandon, you
You know,
there?
it could be interesting too with that drop-in or pickleball. Then maybe we
Hey,
should have a
Tyler.
free day.
Hey, just wanna make sure we can hear you and you can hear
Free day
us.
once in a while.
Yeah, loud and clear. I can see you guys.
Pickleball Fridays or something?
Sorry, we're a tiny bit behind, but,
We're gonna get back on schedule.
we're ready for you now. I think,
No worries.
if I can make a suggestion, if we could, maximize Brandon's time and do items 1 and 3
Yep,
before item 2.
go for it.
Oh, I wanted to provide an update on a couple things. We've been working on our strategic plan for a while. We had, all the dates kind of run together, Kyle, so, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think over the past month or so, we had a couple of, really good conversations, and I provided some great feedback, what I thought was great feedback to Brandon to share with the project team, and he was gonna engage with, SFA for kind of, some revisions to the plan. I'll let him elaborate on that, and then Brandon, if you wanna segue from that after you're done to the occupancy process, it's your show.
Okay, yeah, appreciate that. Good to see everybody. Nice to see some sunshine coming through the windows.
Yeah, can you see everybody? Okay, we have the lights off, 'cause,
Yeah, I can see you guys. I can see everybody.
all right, good.
Let's see, yeah, we got the feedback, which there's a lot in that package, so we have forwarded on over to SFA. We've been working with them to try to develop a plan on how to get all this incorporated and get it back to you. So I don't have a firm ETA other than we are working on it and we have it in process. So still more to come actually on the plan, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Any specific questions though while I'm here on that?
Yeah, I have a question. There was, in a separate project, dealing with SDCs, we came up with a little different project list, and I'm wondering if we can incorporate that somehow into the recommendations from SFA.
Yeah, definitely. That was part of the information, and that, if I'm looking at it correctly, that's like new neighborhood park, new outdoor pickleball courts, the North 40 Sports Complex. Those are the items that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them might be non-viable or not important to our strategy, but it seems like there should be a nexus between our SDC plan and our strategic plan.
Yeah, my gut reaction is that we're gonna come back with kind of a proposal and how we incorporate it, how we address this, to make sure that we kind of short circuit the process rather than going back and forth with rounds of, revisions and comments. I feel like we're gonna have a work plan, or not a work plan, a work session to go through some of this once we have that proposal on our side put together. So I'm working on my end to kind of get that pulled together in the next couple of weeks. It's been right at about a month that we've got the feedback, so I'm trying to put the pressure on a little bit on my side to come back to you all.
Great, thank you, Brandon.
No problem. And thank you guys for putting in that time too, so.
Thank you, Kyle.
Occupancy change, I think that's where we have a little bit more to chat about. I was trying to remember the last time I came and gave an update, so I thought I would start with any initial questions out of the gate. I know there's overarching concerns, and I can kind of give a summary of where we're at, next steps, but any pointed questions out of the gate?
I have one.
Go
Have we been able to squelch the apparent anger or, you know, that came from the city and redirect that into something positive?
Yes, yes, we have, and I think that that is probably the key takeaway, is we did receive some pointed language, which you all have, and you know, and understandingly, the city has concerns, but we've been in consistent dialogue with the city. So a few weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago, we met as an overall team. So Skylar was there, myself, Class Group, city manager, community development director, fire marshal, building official. And it was very similar to the meeting we had about 2 years ago, where all the minds got together and tried to make sure that we were all on the same page with the work to date and the next steps on the district side. And the takeaway was there was a little bit of, I don't want to say, it wasn't miscommunication or lack of communication, it was the need for maybe just a little bit more communication. So that meeting we talked about that the fire alarm system had been completed and was installed, has been inspected by the city, and that permit has been since closed out. So that meeting, it was an opportunity to hear from the fire marshal and his opinion in terms of the work, the safety on the building, and what the district needs to be doing to ensure safety. And that was great. The fire marshal indicated that had been a part of the final inspection, had signed off on it, and was in agreement that with regards to fire-like safety systems, the building was in a much safer condition, and that the district no longer needed to do fire watch on the building, and just asked for consistent, continued communication. So for instance, if the fire alarm were to go down, like if we have a maintenance item, some sort of unforeseen failure, if the system goes offline, then Skylar and staff know that fire watch needs to ensue, and we're communicating with our partners, being the fire marshal. So that was great. That was a positive. Gave it some time with the new building official. I think everyone there in the room is aware this is our third building official. And so I kind of laughed a little bit because we've had subsequent conversations, Jeremy and I not making light of the situation, but kind of laughed a little bit with him and saying, you know, you are the third individual that I've had this conversation with, and kind of gone back and looked at the history and how we've gotten here, what's the agreement, what's the game plan. And it was great. It was reassuring that all parties are still committed to the cause and looking at the district and doing the right things, and we're all on the same page. So all in all, it was great. We have since, like I mentioned, closed out the fire alarm permit. And so right now for the building, for the SRC, we have one outstanding permit. It's a structural permit. I would have in the past referred to it as a building permit, but it's all the same. And so the building official and I have had a few conversations over the last couple of weeks and looking at an approach and how we can close out that permit and address some of the work that needs to be done to execute the last bit and pieces of the occupancy change. He's given us an extension on the building permit, so we have a timeline in which we need to finish some work. So between Skylar, Klosh, and myself, we've been putting together a game plan to get there, and it all points to a roadmap or a path, if you will, to actually get to, certificate of occupancy on the building. So over this week and in next week, I'm working on a final response, which is, a position we're gonna take as a district, to how we approach the closeout of the permit. And I get the building official to bless that and then get this thing done. So that timeline looks to be at the end of the year. So we've got a little bit of a window of time to replace some doors, replace some openings, improve egress, and potentially look at putting in some fire barriers, which I reference it as it's light duty, and it does have some dollars behind it, but it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's a light lift. So we're in process on that, and right now, from the city standpoint, from the district standpoint, and kind of the consultant standpoint, Colossian SEA, we're all in agreement and are moving forward. So we made a lot of good progress over the last month and a half.
So Brandon, the original deadline, I think, was July 1st.
Yeah.
Has that been pushed back to the end of the year, or are we still on the July 1st?
Fiscal year or calendar year?
Well, yeah, either or.
Yeah, July 1 is still a date out there. So two things. To close out the existing permit, we have until the end of the year.
And
that's
End of the fiscal year? Fiscal
end
year?
of the calendar year, excuse
Calendar
me.
year,
Excuse me,
okay.
end of the calendar year. Yeah, great question. The July deadline is still in place. What we're working towards is putting in the July deadline is a permit application deadline for any work needed to the mechanical system. And then that permit would be good for 2 years, and the district would have that timeline to complete that work. And if you remember, and you got to go back a little bit into the Rolodex here, we provided a due diligence package on the building that highlighted the deficiencies from the mechanical system, and that is not a light lift.
Hi.
His little kid.
Hi.
Give me 1 second. I have to escort him out the door.
That's okay.
No, let him watch.
Yeah, say hi.
Okay, you gotta be quiet though, okay? Okay. Forgive me, yes, you can watch my phone, and now you are getting me on public meeting being a bad parent.
No,
My cell phone.
that's a good parent.
We knew it all along.
Yeah.
The human side of what we do. Okay. So yeah, so go back to that question. July 1 is still a deadline. We need to, by then, have a building permit application in to do some mechanical work in the building. That work will need to be completed within 2 years from that application approval. So right now we're working on an RFP, request for proposals and bids for the fire life safety work that needs to be done to close up the structural permit. And then are working on the scoping for the HVAC permit application that's going to come in July.
Do we have to have the, RFP for the mechanical part done before the July 1 date?
We have to be in for building permit for that date. So we have to have it designed and applied for. The bidding is a little squishy. We can do the bidding, really we would do the bidding after we have the design, but those two things aren't necessarily tied together.
Okay.
So right now, to suffice deadlines and, continue to be that good partner, we have to submit for a building permit to do that mechanical work. We'll have that 2-year period to actually,
Get it done.
bid it out and execute it. Yeah, hopefully that's clear in the way I said that.
That's what, I remember our last meeting, we were stressing about getting an RFP done and all that before, and just the amount of time wasn't enough. So I just want to make sure that that was not still hanging over our head.
It's more comfortable, if you will. I feel there's still pressure on to meet deadlines to get things done, but this is more doable.
Yeah.
And again, that getting back to having that dialogue with the city and establishing that kind of common ground with work that's been done showed that. So yeah, the fines in which you were threatened with feels that that threat has gone away, if you will.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
I may be, I apologize if I'm catching up here a little bit, because I missed the last meeting.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
what I remember is when we first got the list of things to get done, I think there was this question about, well, could they issue us a certificate of occupancy if they wanted to? And you thought that, yes, that's within their discretion to do it. And at that time, I recall that their big concern was the fire and safety. And so, first of all,
Yeah.
congratulations that you got that over the finish line. So that part's done. And so my question is what stops them from issuing a certificate of occupancy now? Or has there been a discussion about that? At what
Yeah.
point they're gonna be willing to actually issue that?
No, great question. Yeah, we can dial in a little bit on that. So the existing permit that's open is a structural permit. And if you recall, we had to add a few doors into the main gym. We had to relocate an existing door and put in some extra layers of gypsum board, which would give you a fire rating, right, a fire partition. That work is still remaining, so we have to do that. That is what is preventing you from the temporary certificate of occupancy. And that is the work in which we plan to complete by the end of the year.
So do we have that written down any place where we can make sure that all parties know? Just because it feels like we've sort of had a moving target on what we need in order to get that, because I think that would, at least for me, give a lot of reassurance that we knew what our target was to get the temporary certificate.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. The scope of work is clear. We have that. That's permitted work. That's, already agreed to. So that's defined. We are writing, so we provided a response to the letter from the building official.
Yeah.
That did a meeting, right? And
Yeah.
so the result of that meeting was an agreement. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Okay, go back out there with mom, okay? Can you close the door? Thank you.
Would it be
Sorry about
reasonable,
that.
Brandon, then for you all to write a letter to the city and
That's
to
what I'm
us
doing.
that
So I'm
affirms?
putting that response together now to go back to Jeremy, the
Okay.
building official, that basically says, hey, the result of the last 3 weeks of conversation is this. We intend to complete the fire barrier work by the end of the year, which would close out the existing permit, which would in the end result in a certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, I'd like to see that in there, because I want to see the carrot in there, not just us promising what we'll do. I want to see our understanding of what they will provide to us back. Yeah.
My understanding is Jeremy intends to provide a letter that then confirms the timelines in which we are being granted. Because in the eyes of the city, the structural permit to add in the new doors, to put in the fire barrier, that timeline has passed, right? And so typically a building permit is good for 2 years. We have spent that time putting in the fire alarm system and really in addressing the fire life safety priority in the building. Now we need to come back and do the low-hanging fruit. The city has said, hey, that permit has expired. So we are requesting an extension, and that extension will be granted through the end of the year.
Okay.
And so that gives us the window of opportunity to close out the building permit that's open now, and then turn and focus. We won't be able to, sit back and relax too much. We'll still need to work and put focus in on the mechanical system, but we'll have a 2-year period from July 1 to actually execute that work.
I have a delicate question.
Yeah.
I don't understand how something got signed with a date that's passed. And is that leaving, is there a residual resentment because that was signed and we?
No, that's a great question. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't.
There's no resentment by any means. There was a little bit of misunderstanding. So we conveyed back to the jurisdiction that our understanding was that the concern in the building was fire life safety, and that was the fire alarm work. What the city didn't understand was that we were executing the fire alarm work and then intending on doing the doors and the fire barrier work. So that was kind of the gap in the communication. Just informing them that, yes, it has taken that long to get the permit for the fire alarm and actually implement the new fire alarm system. So we just needed a little bit more time, which is kind of natural. That work falls under multiple building permits, if you will, so just making sure all of that jives and, is understood was what was needed. So on our end, on the district's team side, we were assuming that, obviously we were making progress with the fire alarm. There was a lot of time lapse between when we were requesting inspections, just due to how long it was taking the install. And so it would have behooved us to make sure that the building official knew, like, hey, we are still progressing, things are still moving, these are the added timelines. The inspections that are called for, there's one in the beginning and one in the end, so just a little bit too much time lapse between them. But no resentment, just cleaning up the communication, and now we're putting all of that agreement on paper and are moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah. The great part was hearing Chief Genesi, or Fire Marshal Genesi, say, no, look, from his perspective, the building is safe, right? And now we need to just close out permits and make sure all the paperwork is dialed. So that's what we're doing now, yeah.
Yay, Genesi.
Yeah, no, it's great. And again, if anything, I'd like to message that everyone got together on the same call. We all worked in the same room, but we were all on the same call. And again, expressed commitment and appreciation, and, we're moving things forward. So they're going to hold us to timelines, which we can appreciate. Yep. And, Skylar and staff and team, I think, did a great job, showing up and committing to those timelines to be like, yeah, we can do this. This is feasible. So let's move forward. And what it will do in the end, that I really appreciate, it won't put any restrictions on you. It'll be very clear with what you can and cannot do in the building, and we should have that documented here within the next couple weeks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Anything
No
you want to add, Skylar?
I'm just grateful that we have good consultants that we've worked with, and Chris and Brandon have been extremely helpful in guiding us through this process. I can't imagine not having their expertise. So I know it's been not their performance, but the experience has been really choppy and difficult. But we didn't necessarily know what we didn't know until, and every day or almost every week, at least, there's a new turn, a new problem to address. There's lots of stuff kind of running concurrently with identifying some funding sources so that we can get this work done, and trying to prepare a budget that's fiscally responsible and is representative of the work that we know the building needs. And meanwhile, we're trying to be respectful of what the city has shared with us and utilize the building at a capacity that seems appropriate, but also we want to serve the residents. We want to maximize the opportunities for recreation that are there, and there's just a lot of really great space. So anyways, just thankful for the collaboration, and looking forward to getting that temporary certificate and eventually the permanent one.
Any other questions for Brandon?
What's that?
Any other questions?
No.
No? All right.
Thank you, Brandon.
Okay.
Thanks, Brandon.
Okay,
Thank you very
no
much.
problem. Good seeing everybody. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon, Scout. Okay.
Enjoy your family.
Go find your cell phone.
No, it's good.
You got a glimpse into my world, so good seeing you all.
Bye, Brandon. Have a good one. All right, we're gonna skip back to number 2, SDCs.
I did notice that I think Charlie from EVCS was here, so if you want, we can keep him in the waiting room, let him in and he can wait, or we can skip to 10C if you are ready to. We can come back.
How long of a discussion do we think SDCs is gonna be?
I think that's up.
It'll be significant.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it could.
Kyle is gonna hold it to a long discussion. Got it.
Kyle, are you saying this with the?
This won't take very long.
The electric vehicle one or the SDC?
SDCs will take longer because there's more information to be.
Yeah, we're not gonna go over.
Just Charlie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, if somebody's leaving,
Yeah, I feel
serve them first.
that's nice. Unless if we can honor their time. A little internal customer service here. Hi, Charlie. Oh, hey,
You're muted, son, Charlie.
Charlie, you're muted.
There we go.
There we
Thank
go. You can hear us? All right, so, I drafted out this memo, and Charlie and I have been in really great communication. I know he's also met with representatives from Pacific Power. I've had conversations with Pacific Power to try to, address some of the, items that were brought up, and, we've amended, worked together to edit, or amend the agreement that was proposed, and what you have in front of you is, the latest version. I also tried to alleviate some of the concerns that were raised about a competitive bidding process, and it sounds like Charlie's working for an organization that competitively did this process at the federal level. The other thing that staff have worked on, and I actually have an updated, because we've received since the time of publishing the board packet, we've received a little bit more feedback from dog park users. So I think the total is 11 responses. So we put some signage out on the dog park and had a QR code that folks could scan in and provide us with some feedback. We have a little bit of additional data that I didn't include because I didn't necessarily think it was appropriate to be part of the public record. But essentially what I think it's appropriate for us to do is reconsider this proposed agreement with EVCS to install these electric vehicle charging stations in this location, and also provided some options for the board to consider in terms of the dog park. I think 11 users, it's a segment of the population, and so the board may decide to pursue one of the options that I kind of tried to lay out. There may be other options, but essentially the options are that district staff would work with the city to identify another location for a dog park to be constructed, or maybe it doesn't need a lot of heavy construction, but for the dog park to be located. That's different than the one that exists now. We could use existing space. I said on the SRC, but I kind of meant within the property. There's some green space that was part of the new parking lot, the new north parking lot, that could be used potentially as a dog park. It's not necessarily much bigger, if at all bigger than the dog park is now, but that's space that we could utilize potentially. Or the other option, that if the board wanted to move forward with the agreement, we could keep some, or maybe a good chunk of the dog park to continue in its current form, and just Charlie's team would probably have to be responsible for figuring out how to make the electric vehicle charging station and parking stalls work within kind of that footprint of area. And I think there's enough space there for that to be a possibility. I'm not sure about the cross-compatibility of user groups of dog park users and electric vehicle chargers, if that's if there's some overlap there. But those are some options. There may be other options for the board to think about or bring forward. I know that was a concern, though.
Is there going to be any impact from the ODOT's future work to change that right away? Will there be any encroachment on the charging stations?
Yeah, when we've, Charlie and I both actually looked at the web maps again and wanted to make sure, but the ODOT right away doesn't infringe on the dog park. The strip as it proceeds north gets much narrower. Further south, by like where the Visitors Bureau is, the strip is pretty wide, but as it proceeds north, the strip kind of triangulates, so it's not very significant. It doesn't infringe on that property.
Out of curiosity for this first question, the rating is what, 1 and 5, which way is good or bad?
Sorry, 5 is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, again, apologies, but I just don't see it captured in the notes. Why are we doing charging stations? I mean, I'm a fan of electric vehicles, but like, why does this fall under our
Sorry, Celeste, that's a great point. Missed you last meeting. So we had catch my tongue up to my brain here. The city of Seaside was pursuing, some charging stations, just, north of the Visitors Bureau restrooms. And they were in conversations with Charlie, and, it came kind of to me, and I think that's great also, but I felt like, there was an opportunity for the, charging stations to move for to a more advantageous location, both for SEPRD, for the city, and for, chargers. And so we identified the, for lack of a better way of putting it, where the dog park sits now as a possible location. The reasons that we were interested in pursuing it was because, that's, part of the property that they negotiated, to buy from us, as part of the SRC, those parking spaces just north of the bathrooms. But users, or chargers, potential chargers would have to drive through our lot. And, we felt like that we wanted to be able to capture some of the revenue, and also it was not a great location for, like the farmer's market uses that corner of the lot pretty intensively. So we were concerned about that, and also, moving it to, the dog park location would allow us to capture revenue from it. We get a small percentage of charging revenue that's generated. And, the dog park has been identified by the city, by Pacific Power, and by us as not an ideal, dog park for dog users, and that, it'd be better to potentially relocate that park somewhere else to a more suitable location with the right amenities and laid out the right way. So kind of felt like, it was in the best interest of the Park and Rec District to pursue moving them, and this relationship kind of transpired from there.
And, sorry, a couple of follow-up questions. Do we know anticipated approximately just ballpark revenue, just to know what the return on investment for our time and energy to do all of this will be?
Sure.
And then, yeah, and again, I'm a little, like, I don't think it's a bad idea, I'm just kind of wondering, like, why Park and Rec, and why is the city not? It seems like a city thing to do, as opposed to a Park and Rec thing to me.
Sure.
So, it's just, in general, like, so is it just coming to us by default, because the transaction was already in discussion to be on the city property before, like?
Yes.
I mean, it just doesn't seem like a service that a Park and Rec is.
We're not providing the service. I mean, we're really contracting with EVCS. They're doing all the construction, the labor, the maintenance costs,
Okay.
and they have contractual obligations to keep the machines up and running. What we're doing is providing space in a gathering or community location that's convenient for chargers, and also could be conducive for some cross collaboration with our programs, our services, our
Okay.
facilities. I mean, eventually when the
Charge
SRC.
your car and click the wall.
Yeah,
And walk your dog into the dog.
yeah.
Well, and I'm curious, is the city vested in giving the community a better dog park than what is there right now?
That's a good question.
It's a better question for the city. I probably wouldn't be able to speak, but I know from many conversations with city staff that they recognize the deficiencies of the current dog park, whether it's the parking, the layout.
I think it's part of their North 40 plan.
Yeah. They haven't made any promises about, allocating resources or funds, but the dog park sits on our property. I need to make sure that I'm clear in communicating that. It's part of the SRC property that we purchased from the city, from the school district. And it was a handshake arrangement that the city had with the school district when the dog park was constructed to build it there. But it would be up to us to decide if we want to continue having the dog park be at that location.
I've gone to, driving through there to look at who's using it, and, I'm busy, but that dog, and see, the weather's nicer now, and I'm seeing the dog park in use almost every day. That there's somebody there with their little pooch, and, I've never, in this time period of this last month that I've been watching, I've never seen two dogs there with two different owners, because it's such a small space.
Well, everybody knows how I feel about dogs, but gee whiz, we got a 5 mile long, half a mile wide dog park just a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling like the community
Oh, you mean
is.
at the high school?
No, at
No,
the
the
beach.
beach.
Oh.
I'm not feeling like the community is lacking.
Not very friendly for off leash though.
I'm sorry, I won't take Teddy down there.
My dog's off the leash. So I have a couple comments. You know, I was pretty elbows deep in the contract at the last meeting. Sorry about that. And to Charlie's credit and Skylar's credit, I think all of my issues were resolved. And I can't speak to the indemnification issue because the attorney did that, so I'm not gonna say anything that's gonna be sideways from what the attorney says. So I think everything was resolved. I have one more edit, it's a Scrivener's error, Charlie, so it's not a big deal, but on the first page where it says, number 2, EBCS general obligations, the very next line, there should be apostrophe after EBCS, that's possessive. So here's my that's my only change, but here's my concerns. And they're not concerns, they're just, maybe issues that we should think about when going into this. As far as I can tell, EBCS is an outstanding company and they've lived up to their obligation, everything that they've done. But they've only been in business for 7 years. They haven't been in business for, 20 years or something like that. And that's something to keep in mind. I'm always a little concerned in a contract when there's automatic renewals. So however many of us are on the board 10 years from now, when this renewal comes up, I think it's important to take a good, healthy look at whether we want to renew or not, based on our experience for the previous 10 years. I think there's going to have to be a little bit of investment on the part of the district in the context of security and lighting. I think we'll probably have to light that area. I parked my car there and just walked around to see what it would be like. It wasn't nighttime, but I think it could use probably some lighting on it just for safety reasons. And I think that, as Skylar mentioned, there should be some symbiosis between the district's programs and the car chargers, and whether we offer them something or we put in a trail that they can walk and do obstacle course things or something, or do something that would make their time while charging recreational. I mean, that's what we want. So if we can come up with any creative ideas to make that work, I think that would be even better.
Measure out a route around the new
But
field.
yeah, just and have a little stations where they can do pull-ups or something. I don't know. Skylar will know 100 of those different types of things. And the final thing is, they are indemnifying us up to the limit of their insurance, which is $1 million. Which
like 5 million.
well, it says in the contract $1 million. Is that changed now? I thought I read $1 million.
No, that's the certificate of insurance it's a $5 million umbrella, and EBCS will list the SEPRD as an additional insured on that certificate.
Oh,
of
thank you, Charlie. And so then, is that $5 million total or per incident?
I think if I remember right, it's like $1 million per incident.
Oh, okay.
But $5 million umbrella, which captures, and it could be $5 million per an incident. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So bottom line is, I support the agreement, and I would encourage the board to move forward with it. The one question I have, and this is a monopoly, the one question I have is, how do carbon credits work? I mean, you're receiving.
I can tell you about that.
All of the carbon credit benefit on this, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's $1 million or $50 or what the, how does it work?
I can tell you all about the carbon credit program.
Yeah.
It's modeled after, California has something called LCFS, Low Carbon Fuel Standard, and Oregon, it's Clean Fuels Program, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's funded by oil companies and other companies who pay into this program, and then it generates carbon credits. And so you have electric vehicles and other people who get these credits. And as it turns out, it's not a huge amount of revenue for EVCS, but it adds to the business model. I can't say exactly how much because it depends a lot on auctions. So there's a lot of administration that goes along with these credits. It's based on kilowatt hour usage. So however much kilowatt hour usage the charters get, that generates credits. You claim those credits and sell them in an auction, and it's a lot of, there's one person who does that on like a full-time basis within EVCS. It's not a huge amount of money, it's not like millions of dollars. It's probably more than $50, maybe a couple $100, something like that, per station per year.
Oh, okay.
Per site per year, on the order of probably a few $100,
Okay.
is my guess.
That helps, thank you.
I have a question. Is there any component or any aspect of this installation that could change in cost because of any immediate consideration of tariffs or imported products? Is this all American made?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is a federal contract, and as part of it, it requires something called BABA, which is Build America, Buy America. So the components, the charters, in fact, we're working with a company, a large Korean company called Samsung, who has a factory in Ontario, California, that will be, or is, BABA compliant. So the parts, the chargers will be Build America, Buy America compliant.
So this has a company name of Nudo?
Oh, that's for the level 2 charger.
Uh-huh.
And I think Nudo's Taiwanese, but I believe they also have a factory in the U.S. that will be Build America, Buy America compliant.
Okay.
But the big fast chargers, those are Samsung.
Do we know if there's, I just did a quick Google search just to see risks associated with EV charging stations on properties, and they do list fire risk, so I don't know does this do anything to our insurance coverage? Is there any other risk that we know that, as property owners, that we would take on?
I can just only speak from my perspective, is that I pulled counterparts throughout the state and a number of agencies for the reasons of symbiosis. That's a Kyle word, not a Skylar word. I don't even know if I know the definition, but for the reasons of that, this is a fairly common practice. I think there was more than a dozen other agencies that have chargers, so that put me a little bit at ease. I talked to my colleague Jonah, the city of Astoria. They have electric vehicle charging station. I don't know if it's who's the provider, but at the Astoria Aquatic Center. And I would imagine there may be a little bit of risk, but I don't think it would impact our policy.
They won't be attached to a building.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll be freestanding,
Yeah.
so they couldn't start our building.
And it doesn't pull from our energy?
Correct.
It pulls
Pulls from the
grid,
transformer.
From the transformer directly,
Yeah.
okay. And just out
Which
of
is why they
curiosity,
like that spot, 'cause the
are-
transformer's right there in the
well,
dog park.
okay, that's what I was wondering, is like, why this spot, not like Broadway parking over by the Broadway field or something else? And just was wondering, if this is just most
right
central,
there.
is that why?
Well, there's a transformer box,
Got
I
it.
don't know the jargon very well, but yeah, there's a big box right there, and, that's beneficial, and I think the other stuff that I explained in terms of helping us maybe be more motivated to find a better dog park solution.
Yeah.
And for the district to capture some of the revenue on part of the property that we own, I think it's appealing to us.
And have we discussed this usage with, Brandon and SEA and how it plays into the master?
We have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're aware and generally supportive of it.
Okay.
We know at some point, further along on the priority list that we'll address parking lot issues, restriping and, maybe some leveling and lights and curbing and things like that, but that's probably a little ways down the road.
So our risks are potentially some security installation, the cost associated with that, or any vandalism that might come or something with it. The other risk seems like it might be public will if we take away the dog park, right? Is that the other risk?
I think that's something worth consideration, for sure, yeah.
Where is the space that you're,
So
does it say green space in the new
it's
park?
on the, directly on, just, west of the dog park. There is the rolling gate and the new parking lot that was constructed. And within that space, on the north side of the property, there's a similar size, portion of land. It's probably
Long and skinny, right?
long, it's triangular and long and skinny, and that could work. I also think, and we were just out there on Saturday, spending a lot of time, but there's a good amount of space at Broadway Park, in between the two playgrounds, and there was a number of dog users out there exercising their dog, throwing the ball for their dog and running their dog as we got set up for egg hunt. But that would be, I think, a really great space for something like this. Maybe even if it's only temporarily until the North 40 complex is really conceptualized a little bit further.
I agree, I've taken my dog there, and partly because, that is sort of a hidden from view area sometimes, and I always worry about problematic behaviors that are happening back there, and I think if you have dogs back there, it probably cuts down on,
You can
problematic
even do
behavior.
a little brush clearing.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I think it would probably,
There need to be some side improvements with parking,
Yeah.
Or not parking, but some fencing and things like that, to make it really suitable for folks to off-leash their dog and they can run a little bit in that space and do their pottying. And
Do you need board direction on the dog park before, we approve the contract, or before we vote on the contract, or?
I think that's.
Can we vote on it and give you the authority to make dog park decisions?
That's up to you. I mean, I think, I try to provide some options just because I think that, if we do have feedback from the public that we're eliminating a dog park, then the board can say, hey, we're working on it, this is the solution that we've identified, and this is how we're doing it, or we've empowered staff to do that. From what Charlie shared last time, the timeline, I mean, we want to get the contract approved if that's the direction we're going, but, the timeline for installation is several months away, so we do have kind of a roadway, or a runway to, identify a solution, work with the city potentially, and, find another spot for this activity.
I mean, doesn't that idea fall in your number 2 on your,
Yeah, I think it could.
yeah. So, well, I had 2 little questions. First of all, FHWA, is that the Federal Highway something or other?
I believe
That's the
so.
Highway Administration.
Is that correct? I mean, I Googled it,
Sorry,
so.
should have, spelled that out.
It's okay, and then, I mean, I Googled it, and then on page 2 of 17, I bet you I asked this before, but on F, it says that you'll keep, Charlie, you'll keep the equipment operational 97% percent of the time minus vandalism and power outage, what's that 3% that's missing? If it's not power,
Well,
Something
the-
breaks,
the-
or rust, or,
What?
yeah.
he's already put that in.
What happens is when the equipment goes out, it does take some time for EBCS to do a truck roll to get somebody out there. And so, or maybe we need to get parts, and so that's where the 3% comes in. 97% uptime actually is pretty stringent.
Not pretty outstanding, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
pretty
wondered
high.
Mhm.
You know, what's this 3%? If it's not it's already not vandalism
It's
and
better
not
than
power
2
outage.
standard deviations off the mean, so
Yeah.
it's pretty darn good.
So, for me, personally, I'm all in favor of this. I think this is great. I also think getting rid of the junky dog park is fine, but I do believe that if we're getting rid of a park as a park district, we do need to replace it. We personally don't have like perfect facilities for it, but I think putting something temporary in place and then working with the city, I have always thought that there should be a dog park at Broadway, well before this discussion. So realizing that that would have to be a conversation with another partner, and we can't just arbitrarily go, we're gonna put in a dog park at Broadway Park. And that could take some time, but I would like to see that, for me, I would like to see that be a priority, is finding a suitable location for something that isn't necessarily like the world's greatest dog park, but at least something to replace what they are losing.
And
Those are my thoughts.
Well, and I really appreciate, just piggybacking on that, when I had to take my dog to Tillamook last year for taxes, and they had a dog park, it was just muddy.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that the comments here were the gravel, and yet I don't really want that to be the surface. I want it to be something the dog can feel comfortable on. But honest to goodness, that thing they had in Tillamook was awful. I mean,
There's a really cool
mushy
dog park over by the Hillsborough Stadium. It's really unique and has like, anyway,
I do like the idea of keeping it on site if we're able to, and part of the reason that I like that is that if and when we implement the walking path around the whole property and publicize that, I think people will walk their dogs around there, and so to have that connected to where the operation park is would be awesome.
yeah.
Well, and something else that I don't know a lot about dog parks, because my dog doesn't go to one. In where my daughter lives, there is a space, but it's locked. And the housing around the area, that is their dog park, and my dog can't go there. And so I didn't know that existed, but I mean.
There's
yeah.
also,
But it
if
was
you have a
interesting.
decent sized dog park, you can have a little dog park and a big dog park.
That's what that one was intended to be.
Yeah, so, I mean, which you could do at Broadway potentially, but
Well,
anyway.
I would like to say a couple of things.
Yes,
I do support this project also, but I will say, I was on the City Parks Advisory Committee, when that dog park was created. I think, Dale McDowell was the Public Works Manager. I had gone to several ORPA conferences, and the dog parks were a breakout that I attended a couple of times, and I studied, what was recommended for dog parks. And for our city, this one little dog park is not enough. And theoretically, there should be a dog park in every quarter of the city.
Yeah.
So there should be maybe 3 more dog parks. But, the city, I think it's the city's responsibility to find another location. And that one was good. The school district owned the property at the time. They cut a deal. I've noticed that with the softball field, especially during the dedication, that dog park was not only full of dogs of all sizes, but it was full of children.
Yeah.
And it was uncomfortable for me to watch them climbing around on the transponders.
Yeah.
I thought that was inappropriate. But I think for a small dog, And for that parking lot and that area for softball, people are gonna bring their dogs in the car
Yeah,
to the events. And, you know, it's good for them to have a place because they're not allowed in Broadway Park.
yeah.
They probably should not be allowed in that parking lot. But, I do agree that there should be one there, to some extent, if there's, you know, if it's any useful. And a gravel is a perfectly appropriate surfacing. You need to have surfacing that you can maintain and clean up. Grass surfaces are not that good. They need to be sanitized, especially if you've got different kinds of uses going on. Anyway, that's what I have to say about dog parks. I think it's the city's responsibility to relocate it. I reached out to Nancy Holmes, who's chair of the City Parks Advisory Committee. Just today, I sent her a note that we were gonna discuss this. And then I suggested that in the interim, that they use that large area, by Goodman Park, which easily has room for a small dog park. It's already fenced off. It could be gated easily and even partially used until the city has some urgent need to stage, you know, a sewer project or a water project, like they've used that property before, or to stage floats for the 4th of July parade. There's plenty of room there that they could create a dog park in the interim.
Do you think they're interested?
I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't had any direct conversations, with anyone, except you guys. But I did send a note to the chair of the committee today, you know, suggesting that idea. But we'll see if they get it on their agenda or not.
So I think this begs the question, to me at least, it begs the question, how do we feel about a motion to approve the charging stations without a plan in place for the dog park?
I'm fine with that. I think the plan,
Well, it's number two
should be
here.
flexible. I think we should approve the EBCS contract, and I so move.
I'll second.
Good.
But I have a little more discussion, about dog parks, so we can have that discussion after.
Okay. Yeah.
All in favor, signify aye, opposed nay. Kyle?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Celeste? Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Charlie.
Charlie, sorry you had to sit through a discussion of dog parks.
Oh, no, not a problem. I'm a dog person, and I enjoy listening about dog parks, actually.
So, and all of you know that, you know, my dog goes with me almost everywhere. You know, and if you are, looking for me on a day like this, look for a black dog on the beach, and I'll be somewhere around that, because we're always out there. I'm not a fan, I am a fan of adding, parks and recreation to our quiver of things that we do, but I'm not a fan of small dog parks, because I think they spread disease. And when you pack a bunch of dogs into a small space and you really don't have any control over the disease, I think if we have a dog park, it ought to be expansive enough so the dogs aren't compressed into a small area.
And people do.
People too.
A lot of people socialize in dog parks.
Oh, yeah, I know the names of every dog that walks on the beach, and I don't know any of the owners.
Yeah, I think it would be great to have dog parks, but there should be shelters.
Yes.
For places.
It feels like these people, these 11 community members that are using the dog park, I'm gonna jump out on a limb and guess that they have small dogs. I'm gonna guess that they do not take advantage of the beach, probably because they have small dogs and they don't want off-leash, you know, big dogs to come
There are
grab their
problems
small
off
dogs.
leash.
I'm guessing that our tiny little dog park fulfills their need. I mean, there's a couple in here that just say, you know, they, lunch breaks, you know, so they're bringing their dog to work and they just need a quick spot to go potty. So, while I love the vision and the dream of like the one that's over by the Hillsborough Hop Stadium, I mean, it is huge. You can do a walking trail inside the dog park, like it is, and they have logs and they have digging spots, and like, I mean, it's really cool. because, you know, and community, like, they go and let's meet up and have a doggy play date, that's great and all. I do think we still need, I still hope that we can meet these community members' needs. And while it may not be our job, it is a park, and it is a park that is currently on our property, and we are taking it away, and I hope that we can find a way to fill that need. And, I mean, I agree with Mike, I think there should be significantly more around the community, because not, you know, yes, the beach is there, but not all dogs can go be off leash on a beach without just disappearing. Some need fences. So I hope that the city will, you know, the survey that was sent out and we all filled out about the North 40, so very significantly, a lot of it was youth sports and dog park. So I hope that they take that into consideration. I hope we can work and find, you know, I think I've always thought that you know, that center section, do some brush there and expand and like clean up that area on Broadway, and then you can bring your dog, the dog can run, the kids can play, you know, and, or you can watch your kids have sports right there, you know.
Perfect.
Like, I think that would be great.
And charge your car at the same time.
And charge your car just down the road, like, but obviously that's gonna be a bigger conversation with more people than just, we're gonna throw up a fence in Broadway Park. But I'm hoping that we can still meet these people's needs.
And, I mean, the dogs I've seen, I've only ever seen one owner with one or two dogs.
Yeah.
And there was a German Shepherd standing on top of the transformer.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's probably not what I want.
And,
you know?
you know what, I have one of those next to my house, my kids use it as a table all the time, it's fine.
My son used it as a chair.
Yeah, I use it to store it, like, I set stuff on top of it all the time, it's fine.
You know, but I know, I mean, just me in the last month driving by, I'm seeing small, medium, and large, but only, it's interesting, it's always just one owner. So I've not ever seen two cars there and conflict with, hey, your dog's here first or something.
Yeah, I've never seen like a whole group congregating there or anything, it's just the one-offs here and there.
But I don't know how much they pick up.
Do you need any motions around dog parks, or just enough discussion to give you guidance on dog parks?
Feel comfortable?
Okay, fantastic. Moving on. Back to SCCs.
All right, so, I tried to lay out kind of where we're at in this process, in the memo. I really, am happy, pleased with, the results that we got back. So we met with the project team, the consultants from the Bowman Group. Darren and myself were the only staff that sat in on that initial meeting. But they went through the data and, the, recommendation, or what they provide is the data set that they use to come up with the justification for a potential SCC, and then they just share one number, which is the ceiling, which is the maximum that they can justify us asking for or charging if we were to implement SCCs. That doesn't mean that that's what that number isn't necessarily what you all have to adopt as what you want to do to move forward. But I'm really pleased with the experience. Honestly, the number is, it's a great number. I don't want to really dabble too much in that, because we have a period of time where we need to complete some things to comply with statutes, and that period of time will also see them come to our meetings and provide a much more thorough analysis and breakdown of the data and answer all of the questions that you will most likely have.
Is this Bowman Group made up of people who were in the previous group?
Correct. Same three of the project team. Yeah. So I kind of just want to share some of the details of what we will have to do. So by May 28th, district staff have to physically mail notice of the potential for us to implement SDCs to all interested parties, and we got that. We have a list of contractors and developers that we obtained from Clatsop County, as well as a separate list from the city. Sometime around this date, not necessarily bound to May 28th, but we need to work with legal counsel. The district will to draft an SDC ordinance. So should the board choose to move forward at a later date, August, no later or no sooner than August, then that language, that ordinance will be prepared and the board can move forward if they choose to. And then during this time, the consultant team, they prepare and deliver a draft report of their methodology to the district, and we have that available in case likely a contractor may want to see that, or a developer may want to see that methodology. In July, we kind of selected the regular July board meeting, which is the 22nd, for them to come and virtually participate, present that data and methodology to the board and answer those questions. At that time, the board can't decide what they're going to do, and I would discourage you from even hinting at what you might do, because that's not providing the adequate notice time to the public to offer feedback to us. But then at the August meeting, we'll have hit that 90-day mark of after the public notice is given. So they'll come back, and we will need to have a scheduled public hearing. It can be either separate from the board meeting, or most places do it as part of the public, as part of the regular board meeting. But you will receive public comment on that topic. The consultants can be there to help answer some of those questions that someone might have. And then at that point or after is when you can decide to implement SDCs. And then we would work with the jurisdictions, the county and the city, to start collecting the fee on the timeline that was approved in the ordinance. So that's kind of where we're at. I think that's a good synopsis. I am not an expert, but I feel a lot more equipped to answer your questions than I did at the start of this process. And I do want to highlight one thing, and I think Mike brought it out in a conversation that I had with him. I mean, we've been considering this for seven years now, at least 3 or 4 different iterations of the board, and it's not to say that now we're at this point, so we have to move forward. The board could decide it's not right, or they might decide something else. But I'm just happy that we're here, that we have the data now, that we've engaged with a really good consultant team on gathering that. The other thing that I will say, and it's a question or a topic that's come up, because other jurisdictions, other special districts, Park and Rec special districts, I know have done this. In Beaver, in Tualatin Hills Park and Rec, and in Bend, they have modified their SDC so that they will not collect SDCs from certain types of lodging. So, for instance, if it's labeled more affordable housing, then they will waive the SDC, or they'll collect lower than their ceiling of what they could collect. And while our consultants are not lawyers, they did want to make sure that we understand that there's a legal risk to doing that, and that if we're going to change, so let's say the SDC ceiling that they give us is $100, which it's not, but let's just say it's $100. They would discourage you from saying, well, for this type of housing, we're only going to charge 50%, and for this type of housing, we're going to charge 100%, because you expose yourself to a lot of legal potential, like
equal consideration.
Lawsuits and things like
equal
that.
Consideration.
So if you're gonna implement it at the ceiling, then they think you should do that for all the types of lodging. If you're gonna implement it at 50% of the ceiling, then they think you should implement it at that rate. So I think keep that in mind. It's not $100. It's more than that, but they discourage us from doing that, and I would discourage that too, just because the district does not have the legal resources of Tualatin Hills Park and Rec, or Bend Park and Rec, or other jurisdictions where they've been able to kind of maybe finagle that a little bit better than I think we might have the capacity to. The other thing that I think is important to bring up is that we are able to charge to implement an SDC, should the board choose to, on transient lodging or vacation rental type properties, including hotel, development. And that's something that, I think could be, I don't know of any hotels in development in Seaside or in the district, but, as you know, there's a lot of hotels around here, and there's a lot of development for hotels, and there's a lot of need for hotels, so I think that's something to consider as
A
well.
lot more pillows than there are people.
Would that include, like if we tore down a hotel and put a new hotel in its spot?
It would.
Yes.
Yeah.
And improvements.
Yep.
Improvements to hotel property. Skylar, what's the magic of the May 28th? Just so we could get it accomplished this year, so.
Oh, no, it has to be 90 days before the public hearing.
Well, then what's the significance of the August public hearing?
No significance.
So we could pick any date.
You
and
could.
Go 90 days.
I only just, wanted to try to capture the momentum that we have, and that was as close as we could basically get without, putting some pressure on staff to get those physical letters or physical notices out sometime in April. That gave us about a month from now for staff to do that, and these, list of contractors is pretty substantial, so I just wanted to make sure that we had enough time. But yeah, if the board chose to have a later date, that's fine, it just we have to provide 90 days.
No, I just wondered why, but the August 26th date, that's exactly 90 days, so.
So we just have to have,
But sometimes the legal definition of 90 days is different from the common understanding, and I want to make sure that we're legally within our time frames, not one day off.
The business, is that 90 business days or actually 90 calendar days?
90 calendar.
So is that Hood to Coast?
August 26th is the Tuesday after Hood to Coast.
And that is the 90th day after May 28th. So, but I'm not quite sure how they calculate. I just don't want us to be off.
Maybe we'll get a totally different board, yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, my basic question is, do you have confidence in this group?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we've chosen a lot of dud contractors.
They're
and I appreciate
rock
that,
stars.
But they're really good. They're kind of
They're
the
really
industry
good.
standard for jurisdictions.
They're the only one that anybody ever uses.
Well,
They're the experts.
but this is a group of people culled from what we started with, right?
Yeah, I think they essentially got bought out by a larger nationwide company.
Okay.
And, in terms of our experience with them, it hasn't changed one cent. We just send the bills to a different company than we did before.
Okay.
So did you say, were you gonna share what the SEC rate would be that they're recommending? And I'm also, I'm just looking up, I didn't know what the current SECs are, so there's already a part of SEC, do we know that?
There is, yeah, I
Okay.
didn't know that, yeah. I think there's a parks and a water SEC for the city of Seaside.
And sewer and road.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we were aware.
Okay.
I would not be excited about sharing the SDC in a public meeting until we have the notice out. 'Cause I don't wanna jump the gun.
Okay.
And also, I think when it's presented with the data and the methodology, it makes a lot more sense than
That's fair.
just, sharing the number. I feel like I'm gonna open myself up to some really hard questions that I probably won't be able to answer, so.
Yeah. No.
So,
I think the timeline, I don't think you need a motion, right? You
No, I'm
you're
just,
trying to-
I guess I do wanna make
you
sure
just
that.
need consensus from us.
And I do want to try to put these, I know this board is great about being here for meetings, but these are 2 meetings in the summer, and I just want to, whether it's virtual or full participation, I think it's important that we have as many of the directors available for those 2 dates.
It's possible I may be out of the country on the 26th.
Country?
Yeah, I'm going back to Turkey.
Oh, my God.
But I will be present virtually or physically. Okay.
Well, this is nice to, I really appreciate that.
Keeping the pressure on.
Well, but I also appreciate that whatever we start with, if this is so much better and you have confidence in that, that makes me feel
Yeah.
a whole lot better.
Yeah.
We are very behind, folks. Fitness agreement.
Just a short update. At the March meeting, I shared that we had the agreement in place. Obviously, we went through the whole billing cycle for March. We had 16 unique users that are taking advantage of this opportunity, 59 total uses, and Mint Conditioning, the gym that we're contracting with, they billed us a total of $430. So I think it's an investment, but not a significant investment, and for the service that we're providing and the great feedback that we're getting for providing it is really, it's been a nice customer service piece that we've been able to offer to our members. That was all I was gonna share, unless there's questions about the arrangement.
Nope.
Okay.
New business. Oregon Government Ethics Commission training.
Again, yeah, trying to share these memos and try to do a good job of laying out. So this is there's a new rule that was adopted in October of 2024 requiring you all to take a training. There's been a lack of clarity provided by the OGEC on these courses and who would be authorized to provide them. Contacted SDAO and they have submitted a training plan to the state, but they had to do some heavy revisions in order for that training to comply with the requirement. So that's not ready yet. There are some training opportunities available, and I can provide you with more resources. There are regional trainings that different entities are hosting. There's one in Clatskanie in the next couple of weeks. If any board members wanted to attend, there's also an online option that you can attend and get credit for attending. The other option that you would have, and I don't want to encourage you to delay this if it's very important to the board, but SDAO will be providing a approved training at some point down the road, and it could be in conjunction with some of the other trainings that they typically offer for board members, and that will, like I said, that will comply with the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. So,
And in the meantime, has the state backed off on its requirement?
they haven't.
Something?
No, they haven't. So as far as I
So
know,
the
the requirement is still that every elected official completes this training annually. So you have at least until October 1st, or maybe all of 2025 calendar year to get in compliance.
Mhm.
Now, there has been no information shared about what would happen if you weren't in compliance or anything like that. But the reason why I felt like it was important, there's another special district recently that had this topic come to mind, and it kind of became a scene at a board meeting, and I want to make sure that the board has all the information. However you choose to handle this situation is up to you. I'm not going to hold you to it, but I will support you in getting the training if you so choose to now, or you can wait probably another, I would say it's going to only be another couple weeks before SDAO has something out in terms of complying with this.
What was that training I went to last summer at Chemeketa Ecola campus that SDAO put on? I thought that was ethics training.
It was. So SDAO has been really good at providing ethics training, board member training, but the
Non-compliant.
yeah, the Government Ethics Commission didn't have the standards for what would be considered compliant at that point. So they were just kind of giving you best practices information, but not necessarily compliant with compliance.
Yeah, it was a little different. I've been to several of those kinds of trainings.
Yeah, I went someplace in Astoria, but I don't remember what year.
Yeah, this is going to be new. So, I mean, it may have a lot of,
I went to Salem too.
this may have a lot of duplication, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, but, or overlap from what you've already heard.
If we have until October, I'm just gonna wait for SDAO.
Okay. So just sharing that with y'all.
Thank you. Agreement with Northwest Senior Disability Services.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You did. Good job. So you have a contract in front of you from Northwest Senior Disability Services. This is, I think, probably the 8th annual contract similar nature. The only thing that has really changed from our perspective is the total amount of the contract. It provides some space in the contract for us to award a COLA to the nutrition program manager in compliance. Like, we employ that person, but if we're going to award all employees a COLA, which is kind of expected, then it gives us room in the contract to do that, to not have to bear that cost ourselves. All of the other tenets of the contract are exactly the same as they are currently. I will say, I mean, Chris Duffy is our nutrition program manager, and I think you're all familiar with the program that he's running, and we have great participation and engagement, and it's a valuable part of, I think, our community offering. It's a little bit unique for a park and rec agency to be offering it, but we're happy to do it because it gives us a really nice piece of touch points with our senior population. I'm quite proud of that program, amongst many others, but I do need approval from the board, and if there's adjustments to this contract, that is fine too, but
I just have a question.
Sure.
With all the governmental changes, is there funding for this?
great question. Northwest Senior Disability Services has kept us apprised of those conversations, and it doesn't seem like they are in danger right now, at least from what they've said, but obviously things are pretty fluid and dynamic, so I think that's something that we'll carefully monitor.
I think we'd be crazy not to approve this, so I'm gonna offer a motion that we, unless there's more, if there's more discussion.
That was fast.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I didn't even get to open my mouth.
Oh, that's why I did it so fast.
There you go, Kyle. Take your motion.
I'm gonna move that we approve the site management agreement with Northwest Senior and Disability Services.
Great.
I'll second.
There we go. All right, all in
Aye.
favor, signify aye. Opposed, Kyle. Sue, Les, you guys are doing fast. Aye. Great.
Aye.
We're ready to go home. Staff requisition to purchase a truck.
Yeah, I shared information, got a quote and some other information in a memo to the board. Right now, the district is without a vehicle, and that's not necessarily the end of the world, but I think when we sold our pickup about a year ago, there was a hope that we would purchase a new pickup or something similar that our primarily our maintenance team needs to use to haul a trailer, potentially haul equipment to and from like the dump, or if they need to purchase supplies from like a Home Depot or another hardware store. And right now, I think we're in a position of some liability by having employees drive their personal vehicles to do some of those things. So we're able to take advantage of state procurement contracts, existing state procurement contracts with a lot of vendors. The state of Oregon actually has a pretty robust procurement system, and we can capitalize on some existing relationships. We got rough quotes by Isaiah, thank you, for a couple different types of vehicles, a Ford vehicle and this GMC pickup truck, and we felt like the GMC was a little bit cheaper and would provide our needs, or meet the needs of the maintenance department and also other needs that this truck could fulfill. So this exceeds our spending authority, my spending authority. It's what we call a non-budgeted expense. So we do have room in the budget for this expense, but what we're proposing is that we would actually finance the truck to minimize the impact that it would have on our budget right now or on next fiscal year if we chose to wait. So there is a little bit of, that's unusual for us. We try really hard to not carry debt. Right now, the only debt that we have is for the SRC. So that's a little bit different, but I think it's appropriate for a special district or local government to carry a little bit of debt in this way, and not uncommon. The interest rate is somewhere in between 8 and 10%, so it's high right now. I mean, I guess my personal feeling is it's high, but I think it would be high, you know, that's a bearing of the market, I guess, right now. So, I know I haven't really talked to the majority of the board outside of Catherine about this, but I think it's a need for the district. If the board wants to have a robust discussion, consider it. This feels like a no-brainer. I'm not sure where you all stand, but from what I see, this is a need for us because of the liability that we're asking our employees to take on in driving. For instance, our riding lawnmower, if it breaks down or if it needs service, we have to drive it to Hillsborough for service, or if we have to make a dump run and we're driving up to Astoria. So I don't think that's a position that we should be putting our employees in personally, and this seems like a low-risk solution to that problem, and something that's fairly common for government entities to provide.
I'm fine with buying a truck. I'm concerned about the financing, so.
Yeah, I have a question.
So, are we just going out for commercial financing, or are we leasing the truck and it's a lease to own at the end of the lease?
No, the only financing options that we've pursued thus far are with the dealer financing.
Mm-hmm.
They both have, as part of their procurement contract, they have government financing options available, and so we just asked them for quote on what that would look like, what the payment structure would be.
Okay, so what are we earning on our account right now, on our savings account?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's swept into the
Yeah.
LGIP, right?
Yeah, it is. I don't know the percent, sorry. If I can find out.
Well, I'm thinking we just ought to pay for it. I'm not liking 8 or 10% interest rate.
If we have room for it, yeah.
Yeah, for there's room, yeah.
I mean, what's the purpose of the green marking? I mean, is there something I'm supposed to look at?
It's just a trailer,
I mean,
it's a towing package.
Oh, I think he highlighted that because we asked a question about if the truck would meet our towing needs.
And it's so funny, I had to go up to Costco today and I followed a new Ocean Crest white with black interior, Canyon,
Yeah.
GMC Canyon, and I'm going, oh, huh. So it's a mid-sized truck,
Well,
right?
It is.
I would wonder though, actually, is why not go with somebody that's in district with and they do have one listed, the same model for $39,895.
A new one?
So, well, it's 2024, but it's a
Well,
new model.
The one I
Can you
followed,
send me that link? The only reason why we haven't is because the procurement contracts, basically, they're able to, there's no MSRP, there's no, like, some of the other stuff. And actually, we did, I did reach out to our friends that are usually, they're district supporters at Ocean Crest and at Lums and at Astoria Ford to try to see if there was, wasn't able, except for used trucks, to get anywhere close to this price point.
This is advertised on their thing.
And there was, and none of those are public procurement approved vendors. So I think there's a question, if we were to pursue that, then I think maybe we would have to put out a request for proposal, potentially, which isn't a deal breaker.
well, I have a question because,
Well, we already got proposals.
yeah, but the three,
We did, but if you use the public procurement process, you don't have to, yeah. you
But
don't have to
the
go out.
But I
state
mean,
goes
like-
out to bid, and then there's a clause in their contract that says any local government can purchase off this contract. So it's perfect for capital asset purchases.
I just want to make sure that we're getting the best deal. So when I was employed at Providence, they offered a program with a broker. And in fact, all three of my cars, the one purchased in 2022, went through that broker. And you cut out the middleman and you pay a whole lot less. And I don't know I mean, that's something your dad would have had advantage of if he wanted it. And like I said, and see, I asked Chris today, because I didn't see you, should I call this guy? And then I wound up thinking, I'm not gonna do that until I talk to you. So,
Call what guy?
this broker,
Oh.
you know, like, hi, what if I was looking for this?
Yeah,
What could you do? And I just didn't feel comfortable calling him.
I think for us, I don't know if that's one of the routes. I think our routes for purchasing are either to put out a bid, or a request for proposal, or to select one of these pre-existing procurement contracts, that we're allowed to take advantage of by statute, and utilize one of the contracts that they have in place. I think those are really our two options if we're gonna purchase a new truck.
If you pay for it in cash, are we gonna have to have a budget amendment?
Yeah, this is a preview of what's to come next week, but I know it's only, $43,000, but there's not enough wiggle room in this fiscal year's budget, and what we're projecting is a pretty tight carry forward to next year. So that was the other benefit of potentially financing, is being able to, spread out the payments over a 5-year period.
Which, even if it's the 10%, you know, it's $4,400 divided by 5 years, it's like $900 a year, which is not that below.
8% of, what's the price of the truck, 40,000?
43.
Yeah, 44,000.
So 10% is gonna be 4,000 a year,
Yeah.
so 8% is gonna be 3,200 a year, the first year, I mean. But do we need to take possession of it in this fiscal year?
We don't, like, it's not a burning problem other than the reasons that I already stated. And I think each day.
So can we shake out the couch cushions and come up with 21.5 this year and 21.5 next fiscal year and have it paid for when we pick it up?
We could look, yeah.
How much is somebody using their vehicle now?
I would say if I, probably 2 to 3 trips a week, not necessarily each to Hillsborough.
That's a lot.
That's
That's a lot.
a lot.
But, you know, there's.
And are we really mileage and, I mean,
Yeah, so, the full-time staff, they have a mileage, what's the word?
Reimbursement,
No, not reimbursement, a mileage,
stipend?
stipend, thank you, for such. But, if we were to leave, like, the county, like if our maintenance manager would have to leave the county to go to Hillsborough, then yeah, we would reimburse him for mileage. The other benefit, I think, of this particular truck is that it's adaptive enough that if staff were to have like a conference in Bend or Sun River, like we did, we had staff that went and actually rented vehicles because we needed to make sure that they had all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, and this truck would provide some flexibility in that area.
Once put some tires on it. All these tires.
On this form, there's a destination charge.
Yeah, I
Do we
believe
really have to
that,
pay that?
I believe that it would either be waived, our salesperson said that we would, they would either deliver, the vehicle, or we would be able to go pick it up without the destination charge.
Because that takes it to 45,000 and change, at least on page,
Yeah,
whatever.
the number on the memo is the actual, like, purchase price. I don't know if I would trust the quote is a little hard to follow.
So I think what you're needing, it sounds like we have consensus that this is a needed asset for the district to have, and, I mean, I'm comfortable with us proceeding and having staff figure out, like, whether, I mean, either way, we're gonna have to probably have some budget amendment, but I think we need to anyway, because we're overspent in the SRC category.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be doing a budget, around the budget amendments anyways. So they'll make a motion that the purchase of this, a truck, of an asset, up to $45,000, I guess I would say, is approved, and that we leave it to staff to determine the best purchase method and the best timing.
What about the financing method?
I would leave it up by purchase method, yeah.
Okay. And just in my, ever so quick AI calculations, the total interest we'll pay at 8% will be $9,000, $42,000.
Yeah, it seems like if
That seems
it's
high.
available in the budget, because we're underspent right now, it looks like we're slightly underspent for the year, so
Total.
depending on what the rest of the year is looking like.
But this would be a capital asset, and they don't separate out capital
Right.
in the finance report, so we don't really know what's in the capital, what we have left in capital.
Yeah.
That's
Then,
right.
Yeah.
So that's where I think leaving it to the staff to do some
Yeah,
assessment
yeah,
around
I'm
that.
fine. I'll second. Aye.
Yeah.
You're taking the fun out of my job, Kyle. I'm gonna
But
quit.
it's making mine much more fun.
Okay, so you're voting to be president next time. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh my gosh, Kyle.
Are we gonna go forward with this?
We've
We've
had
got a
a motion and a second,
Yep.
and
And Kyle's aye.
I said aye.
Sue,
Who seconded it? Did you?
I did.
we're not following protocol, so.
Did
I
you?
made a motion, Kyle seconded,
Oh.
he's already voted yes.
You.
What say ye?
Celeste,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
aye. Okay, truck away.
Okay,
I vote on white.
And I sent you that email today.
thank you. Yeah, as the sun sets and the lights dim,
I know.
I'm wondering if y'all's energy is,
You can turn the lights on.
no, it's okay, it's kind of fun.
Oh, you don't want to talk
I
about
feel like
the whole?
we ate
there's some
campfire.
candles, something. Okay, well, I will be brief on my report unless, there's, a desire to elaborate, but a few things I wanted to cover. For one, I think we've made some significant progress over the last month or so on some of the goals. If you look on the, key results or goal sheet, 1A, delivering a staff report and recommendation to the board on SDC, so delivered a report on that earlier. But more to come. 3A is another area where we've taken some efforts to strengthen community visibility. I'm starting to interact more with a group of patrons that are in or using the SRC and trying to have some extra opportunities to interact with pool patrons still. Wrote a program guide or a playbook guide, director's message that I hope you'll all appreciate, recognizing an interaction with some patrons and a staff member. 3B, really proud of our website usability plan. We're in, I would say, like the mid-stretch of the website refresh, and looking forward to sharing some of those results with you. Again, we're hoping to activate the new website in July or August, but it's going to be a really beautiful thing and help deliver a really nice product, mobile or browser friendly. 3C, our patron management plan, so I'll have a little bit more to share on that, but we've been able to kind of implement some early protocols for responding to patron complaints and been able to take advantage of those protocols in a healthy way to help resolve some conflicts that have manifested themselves. So I'm really happy with that. And then you heard from Haley about 4A, the staff satisfaction. I think once we have that data complete, we'll be able to share that with the board. So pleased with those efforts. In terms of the goals, there's more to come. I'm finding, yeah, things are busy, so getting to those things, not necessarily putting them to the side, but trying to kind of tackle them in a systematic way that makes a lot of sense with the other priorities that I have on my plate. Wanted to share a little bit of this time of year. We've activated our partnership with Seaside Kids and are working closely with a whole host of volunteers from their board, but a lot of coaches and volunteers. I think that by my count, there are 19 youth teams in baseball, softball, and t-ball that we're working with to get coaches background checked, get practice times organized, provide gear for those teams, coordinate, not for the baseball league, but for t-ball and softball, coordinate those leagues and schedules with, our colleagues at Astoria Parks and Rec. So it's been a busy time. I'm trying to get, all those programs kind of lifted up and going. And if you've driven by, the North 40 fields or the Wahana fields, or some of our other local fields, you've seen some of our local young athletes out there playing and competing, and that's really one of the best parts about spring, I think. And you'll see more to come with softball starting in earnest this week and then games starting in a couple weeks.
Can I share
Yeah.
a couple bits of feedback on
Yeah.
that, just really quick?
Only if they're positive though, Catherine.
Constructive feedback.
All right.
I will say as a parent, signing up my child for softball, seamless, flawless. Like, it was a super simple process, got the link, signed up, all the things. I've been getting communication from coaches this week, great. The only thing, I had one coach asking for, sizing, which was part of the stuff, so I don't know if coaches maybe didn't get access to
Yes.
uniform information that we've already submitted, like we submitted what numbers we wanted and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So that may be just a little oversight, that maybe coaches need that info.
That's great, thank you.
And then another piece of feedback that maybe for next year, what had to do with the batting cages and times, and maybe trying to work a little bit more with, the school district about allotting Seaside kids specific time to get in there.
Yes.
So anyway, that's it. But as far as the process of like signing up, communication, getting on the team, flawless. So good job.
Thank you. Yeah, special kudos go to Erin. She's taken on a lot of this responsibility, and also to Justin for kind of setting up some of the good protocols and procedures in place before he left. And yeah, this is
I
the
feel like
first
we
year.
learned a lot last year.
This is the first year that we migrated the registration process to our software from what Seaside Kids was using, and it's been a lot better.
Yes.
So we're able to capture a lot more of that information. Item C, I wanted to just share that our foundation board met with a philanthropic consulting team called Rose City Philanthropy. They've actually met with them over the last couple of months, and they are going to move forward with a feasibility study for Rose City Philanthropy to conduct a feasibility study so that the foundation board can potentially know and partner with them on some fundraising efforts for the SRC. And we've been sharing a lot of details that you are all aware of, but with regarding the SRC and the occupancy process and our need for a significant amount of funding to improve the building, and they are excited and motivated to help, but feel like they need some resources to help guide them on what that process would look like and how to do it the best way. So it would be a combination of some, grants and donations and fundraising efforts in other ways, but really there's knowledge that we have, but there's a significant knowledge gap to raise a substantial amount of money, which is what is needed. And just being brutally honest, I don't know how we're going to close that gap without a large philanthropic effort. The district's budget is not expanding at a rate that would allow us to take on the future expenses of improving the SRC.
Not to mention the pool.
Not to mention the pool, unless we make some substantial changes in what our program offering is. So this seems like a good bet, and we have a motivated group of volunteers on the foundation board that are excited about executing this work. So at some point in the next few months, we're going to have some collaboration between the district board and the foundation board to share more information, but I'm really happy that we have this dedicated group of foundation board members that are excited about pursuing this relationship, and I think we found a good partner, experienced partner that knows the park and rec space. And
How did they find Rose City Philanthropy?
yeah, so Rose City Philanthropy actually did some consulting work for ORPA in board facilitation, and in conversing with them, they actually expressed some of their other projects that they're working on with other park and rec agencies or other cities, similar projects to this, and just kind of developed the relationship over the course of a year or two. And then, felt like it would be appropriate for them to come and share more information about their skills with the foundation board, and, the foundation board made the decision to pursue a relationship with them.
I've actually engaged this Jerry Alcock, who's one of the senior partners,
Yeah.
twice for my organization. And I'm really, really, really good.
I'm glad you had a good
Really
experience,
experienced, yeah.
My experiences have been really positive. It's not necessarily related, but I love that they're completely woman-owned business, and again, they have a really keen sense. Oh, that was the Polly doing its reset, but I think we're okay. They have a really keen sense for the space and what we need. Happy about that. Item D, just wanted to share, we had final interviews for our youth programs coordinator. That's a position that was vacated when Aaron was promoted to the director of programs. We had, I think, around 6 or 7 total applicants. We opened it externally and internally as well. And the 3 candidates that we determined were our final candidates. There's 2 internal and 1 external. And not quite ready to share the results of that search, but really pleased with the candidates that we had. And I think it made the decision really difficult, but that's a good problem to have. I also want to share, and he just left, but we made the decision to elevate Isaiah from his part-time role as IT coordinator to a similar title, the same title, IT coordinator, but a full-time role in the next couple of weeks. And that's something that we've actually been working on behind the scenes, and Isaiah has expressed a desire to, and it's come to the point where the job requirements that we are asking of him and the talents that he's, not talents, but the skills that he's brought to our team are worthy of full-time employment. So that's really happy, and if you see him after May 5th, which is his tentative start date for full-time work, please tell him congratulations and awesome work. It doesn't, the way that we structure his contract, it doesn't change a lot of things, but it's a big deal, I think, to him to have worked for the district for a long time, to have earned his associate's degree while he's working to elevate himself and learn all these really awesome skills. And we're in such a really great place with our technology and networking infrastructure and some of the things Isaiah is doing. It's really great, and I can share more details on that as we move forward. Item E, just wanted to share we had our egg hunt on Saturday and our treasure dive. I think if you totaled up those 2 events, we probably had around 1,100 participants between the 2 events. Thanks to those that came and volunteered. And Sue, I heard that you were in your element doing the job that you were assigned, but I know there was other
That was a lot of fun.
engagement, so I appreciate the work, and hats off and kudos to Zoe for her leadership and effort in that. It wasn't wet, could have been a little warmer, but it was, other than that, it was
definitely chilly.
a near perfect day.
I thought it was really cool to show off, you know, like you did the 5 to 6 group over on the softball field.
Yeah.
And I was able to say, yes, you go to the new softball field, you know, and the orange ribbon. And I mean, ooh, you know, so I really applaud all the background work that brought us to be able to say to all these people, hey, look at what we did.
Yeah.
And thank you to Builders Club.
Yeah, Builders Club was awesome. More volunteers than we've ever had. So I want to say there was around 25 or 30 middle school students that were out there at 8 a.m. Perhaps motivated by donuts, but mostly just the good nature.
Yeah.
They were at the beginning. Yeah, they went.
There was some.
Yeah.
They seemed to disappear.
Teenagers can go through.
Some other dates upcoming. We have our budget committee meeting next Tuesday. I sent out an agenda for that earlier today. Although it doesn't seem to be consequential, Election Day is about a month away, so remember to get your votes cast. All staff training is noted on May 22nd. That's an opportunity if the board would like to sit in as a participant or come and learn more, just say hello to staff or be present for dinner. We'd be happy to support that engagement that you could have with the staff. And then our May board meeting date. And the only other date I would share, and it's probably not known or significant to anybody besides me, tomorrow is, April 23rd, which happens to be my daughter's 16th birthday, but, it was 10 years ago tomorrow that I first interviewed for this job. I remember it distinctly because it was her birthday, so I interviewed in the morning and, then had a few hours break and took Haley out for a cheeseburger, and then came back that evening for some community engagement work, and then interviewed the next day with, the board, including Mike, who was the board chair at the time. So I didn't start, the job until July, but, special time for me.
Are you gonna buy your own 10-year plaque?
I'm not. No. But, just, was thinking a lot about that over the past few days and how, 10 years has gone by really quickly. We've had lots of challenges and, great moments and, things to learn and, improvement to be had, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity to work with great people, great staff, and, a dedicated board that I know cares a lot about our community, so thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. And tomorrow is actually son Clay's birthday.
Thanks for that too. Yeah,
And my dog will be 4.
it's a good day. It's a good day.
Yeah.
All right, board comment. Mike?
Gee, I don't know what to say. It's an interesting meeting. I think we took care of a lot of business tonight. Happy for, our, was it, Marshall Ferrer? His, congratulations to him. In a busy time, I thought the egg hunt, we got it off kind of a slow start. I think it was the weather. But it looked really, well attended in the end, and it looked like the parking, I noticed that the SRC parking lot, that people didn't park up there as much as they did last year. Of course, last year the weather was incredibly great. I noticed that the parking from the Legion, the Legion, that people were piling the parking over there. They were everywhere, front and back. But that, to me, signaled maybe they'll be great partners for, they could work with the foundation to raise some money doing Herd the Coast. And I think you could probably find the Legion to be willing partners because they could use a little money. And I think we could, it's right there close to us, so we could probably help manage it, for all that. But that's all I've got to say. We're ready to go home.
Thanks. Yeah, great meeting, good to be back. Thanks for the grace to let me miss last week, but I'm happy to be back in the U.S. and happy to be back in the company of you all. I'll just make a personal note that I don't expect to miss meetings except for maybe the budget. No, I'll be here for the budget committee meeting, the 29th, but the following day I have a knee replacement, so I will be out for some time. After that.
It's all that walking.
It was a marathon.
Oh my gosh, been there, done that.
Well, I've had one already, this is the other, the new one, yeah.
Yeah, useless.
Yeah, but you know what? The benefit of, having had chronic osteoarthritis, and you change that to, you get rid of it, and you have to go through some acute pain, but oh my gosh. And then you can always come to the pool, because that's how my knees are surviving.
All right, Stu.
So I made a list, because otherwise it would just be too long. So I want to say thank you to Alice Babe, Mr. Lambert for writing a letter and attending. I appreciate this attendance, following up. To Marshall, I already congratulated him. To Haley for all her good work, and I know how hard she works, and I know there are great things coming ahead too. To Brandon, thank you, and his, Chris as well. Kyle, thank you for your efforts with that.
What did I do?
Oh, what did you do? Yeah, well, let's come to you. Charles, appreciated him. The conversation we had with the dog park, I think that's a positive thing, and I think people will appreciate it. And I want to thank Skylar, of course, for, steering this ship. I want to simply say in this time of, political unrest, that I am very grateful that we are here and that we are encouraging our community to play. Because I think in the mental anguish and the potential, financial scare and whatever other uncertainty, it's important that we stay steady and show our community that we're here to support them in whatever way we can. And I am very grateful that we have this. And I love the new brochure, saying play, P-L-A-Y. I don't think people understand when we say we want to encourage people to play, that has a deeper meaning. And so I'm grateful for that, putting that forward to the public and remembering that, we're all in this crazy ship together and finding a way to just be kind to each other, and we'll get through it.
Thank you, Sue. Kyle?
I'll echo some of the other comments about Haley and Brandon and all the work they've done. I think these staff presentations are really important because it really lets us see the character and quality of people that we have that are doing the work on our behalf for the community. And I think it's really important to have patrons comment on what we're doing, and I think it's more important that we listen to them. I mean, Jake, last month we had a swimming issue with pricing, and we listened to our constituents, and we made a change. And today, Jay made his case. It was a legitimate case, and I think it's important when the board listens to those patrons and adjust. We're not one of those governments that's just going to do its thing no matter what anybody says. We'll change, and I appreciate that about this group. I got to experience the crosswalk lights. Those are awesome.
Only 50% are working.
Well, I don't know whether they were working or not, but the cars all stopped, so
Yes.
I guess that works. And I just want to make a social statement, ever so briefly, and that is, I wasn't here for the purchase of the middle school. I wasn't here for all the battles and infighting and public comment, and all I get to see is the outcome of the decisions that were made 5 or however many years ago. And I just want to say, even though I wasn't involved, I think the purchase of that school was a really remarkable strategic decision, and I'm really glad that the Park District did that. Even though it was before my time, because I think that will be a really shining example of what we can do for our community. And I know it's going to take years before we can get things paid for, but those years would have gone by at the same rate anyway.
Right.
So we've got something that we can contribute to our community, and I think that's important.
I grew up in Portland, next to the Multnomah Community Center,
Yeah.
which was an old school,
Mm-hmm.
turned into a community center.
It still is.
It still is.
Yeah.
And it was old when I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago, and it is still a vital, important part of that community. So that was forefront in my mind when we were having that discussion, and that's the vision that I hold when I think about our community center here, is just creating that legacy.
Well, just looking at the outcomes and I didn't experience the sausage making that went into doing this, but just looking at the outcomes, it is impressive now, and it's going to be more impressive in the future.
Yeah, here.
Well, just think, what if it could be like a Starbucks and a pot shop?
It
It
was
could be all these other, yeah.
It was gonna be a hotel.
Yeah, it could be all these other things.
Well, because I go to the chamber meetings, I am starting to get more and more people coming up to me and say, oh yeah, that SRC, best purchase that you could have made. And I was like, where were you?
In that opinion,
Hindsight's
But-
20/20.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
fine.
thank you very much.
Okay, official board comments, super fast. Congratulations to Marshall. Thank you to Brandon for joining us and providing guidance. Thank you to Charlie for joining us. Thank you to all of you for joining us. It's lovely to see you, Celeste. Thank you, Skylar, always, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, thank you.
Skylar, Haley, Wetlands.
I'll grab it, unless one of you wants.
I'd like to
It was
look through it.
It was for only copies.
I was gonna say,
Oh,
he probably needs
We
that.
have a couple others, so.
Are you gonna go get another cheeseburger to celebrate your 10-year
Uh,
interview again tomorrow?
And where are you gonna go to get this
He's gonna
cheeseburger?
get a
My daughter's
What-
taste
what-
buds have evolved, and she requested sushi. from me.
Oh, okay.
Sushi.
Oh my gosh.
Sushi, really?
Well, is that
Yeah,
the
it is good,
influence
but
of-
the incidence of,
It's
intestinal worm or like 80 times higher.
vegetarian.
Oh, so you almost have to, yeah. You don't get any hookworms from that?
No, not too bad. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night, welcome back.
Bye,
Great,
Kyle.
by the way.
Oh, thanks.
There's a laptop.
Skylar, let me know when we're ready to pull the trigger on the next steps of the strategic plan.
Well, I'm glad we got to hear from Brandon about it, because it's kind of, it went a little bit radio quiet. After we
Yeah.
sent the feedback, but I know we're,
It's not quite ready for prime time, but it's close.
yeah, thank you.
Well, that's so nice to hear, considering what we originally given.